Hello, everyone, and welcome back, as always, to Curse of Strahd Twice Bitten, the show where 5 DMs take on D&D's top gothic horror campaign. I'm Dragna Carta, your host and DM, and thank y'all for tuning in this week. So, last week we had a bit of a fun time. Lillison has a new pen pal. How are y'all feeling about that? And actually, here's a question: if Strahd asked your character out to dinner, would they go?
I was gonna say no.
Pre-Barovia, probably. Post-Barovia, God, no.
If the letter were written sufficiently threateningly, such that I thought that if he walked up to you and was like, "You better go out to dinner with me," I mean,
very fair.
There's this amazing moment in a Black Widow comic where Natasha Romanoff is like on a date and then goes out and like threatens some guy who's abusing his wife and then comes back to the table and finishes dinner. And I have a feeling that a dinner with Strahd would go a similar way for Kiva.
I dig it. Honestly, I feel like Kiva just like walks in, gets appetizers, then double taps and walks out.
Yeah, she would absolutely just like sit down, have the first sip of wine, pull out the sun sword, cut his head off, and then peace.
And then take the breadsticks.
Of
Unlimited
course, you gotta take the
breadsticks.
Snap for Metreon for later. You know what I'm saying?
Wait.
Exactly.
They're garlic breadsticks, right? Or if you get garlic breadstick, you can use them against Strahd.
Exactly.
Oh my god,
That's exactly how that
Metreon,
we take the garlic breadsticks, we get them stale, we sharpen them down, whittle them down to a point. Then we've got basically garlic wooden steaks.
This is a goddamn Yzma level plan.
Well,
Splash
actually,
the water.
Strahd has been immune to garlic since first edition.
And
Thank
very
you.
much not the way that it's going to go with Lillison. I have a feeling that by the end of that dinner, Strahd's going to have a new best friend.
Or a new, overlord.
if you had a
Overlady.
There we go.
squirt gun, could you just kill Strahd with a squirt gun by like, hey, this is running water, like squirt,
Of
squirt,
holy
squirt,
water? Yeah.
squirt. No, just it's running water. I mean,
That is not running water.
Hey,
Blinks-
hey,
Yeah, what if we
Linus,
just pee on
is
the
your
first
water
super
running?
soldier? I'm
Oh
for
my!
it.
Oh god.
Is your water
Okay.
running? Because you better go catch it.
Okay, I'm cutting this off. All right.
Jesus Christ.
Thank you, Twy. All right.
Welcome
so,
back to Twice Bitten, everyone.
Welcome
God,
back to
okay.
Live Twice Bitten, where
This
all
is
of our
great.
shenanigans are, completely unedited.
All right. Well, in any case, welcome back, everyone. I humbly apologize to anyone who has supported the show for associating your name with us. Anyways, cool. Well, with that out of the way, let's get started this week with Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. All right, everyone, and welcome back. So, jumping right back in. Last we left off on Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. Arriving in the village of Kresk soon after receiving a Taroka reading from the Vistana seer Madame Ava, our unlikely heroes uncovered a broken platinum sword hilt beneath the ruins of the Shrine of the White Sun, as Ava foretold. They also returned a wedding dress to the abbot of the Abbey of St. Markovia, gaining a divine boon of resurrection and healing. Upon exiting the village walls, the group learned that the sword hilt was a sentient magic item, and one that seemed to seek Strahd's destruction. After regrouping, the companions headed south to the Wizard of Wines, aiming to fulfill the next step of Ava's prophecy, though not before Kiva attuned to the sword hilt, causing it to become a blessed sword of sunlight, and using it to dispatch one of Strahd's lupine spies. Upon reaching the winery, however, the travelers found it in ruins, destroyed from the carnage wrought by an enormous tree monster. Devastated, Davian rejected the group's efforts to recruit him into the fight against Strahd, but ultimately agreed to speak further if the characters returned to the Blue Water Inn in 2 days' time. After escorting the Martikovs to the safety of Valaki's walls, the companions then agreed to journey to Yester Hill to defeat the monster that had destroyed the winery and retrieve the missing gem that had been stolen, both as reparations to the Martikovs and as an apology of sorts for past transgressions. That night, the group slept outside the tower at Lake Baratok, and as Kiva glowered at one of Strahd's bats, evidently spying perhaps on their encampment, Lillison was greeted by another small black bat, carrying with it a mysterious invitation from Strahd himself, inviting her to a meeting at the coffin maker's shop in Valaki. And so, Lillison, as you finish reading the invitation and hear the flap of the bat's wings retreating from you, as the small black furry shape vanishes into the misty night, you glance down at the signature again, and you see beside it, stamped upon the parchment, a deep red wax seal stamped with the insignia of a tall shield behind a raven, the bird's wings displayed and elevated in princely fashion. The top of the shield bears the design of a castle with 2 tall peaks. A crest? Some icon of royalty? Perhaps. But overall, as you scan the writings of the invitation once more, a shiver trembles down your spine. You hear the gentle lapping of the water against the causeway and the small island upon which the tower rests. You can hear the faint rustling of the trees in the distance, and watch as the mist, cool and chill, slowly spills over the surface of the misty lake. Overhead, the bright moon shines, piercing through the dark clouds that clog the dark night overhead. You can hear Kiva shifting quietly in the door, and you can hear the burning, flickering embers of the campfire beside Esmeralda's wagon. But for now, as you sit here in the darkness of the tall, broken tower, you feel very much alone. What would you like to do?
Lillison
Ooh, go ahead.
Lillison touches the face of the seal for a moment, and then her hand strays to her own bag, and her fingers slip into a pocket within and pull out a ring with a flat face, and she looks at it, looks around surreptitiously, trying to see if there's anybody watching, glances at the design on the face of this signet ring, and then puts it back. And then with her thumbnail, she starts scraping at the surface of this wax seal on the letter. And after a moment, she stops, then almost furiously rolls the letter back up and stuffs it into her bag. But then after a moment more, she pulls it out again and stands up and walks over to the fire.
Okay. Kiva, taking your attention away from the bat that is just quietly curled up in the overhang of the door sill above you, you see a dark silhouette making its way from the side of the tower toward the campfire, where you can see the rest of your companions are sleeping, or one of them trancing. You see the shape moving, and you see that it's Lillison, moving with some just quietly toward the campfire.
Yeah, Kiva will not trying to wake anyone else up. Just stand, and once she's conceivably within earshot of Lil, will just sort of call out and just be like, "You all right?"
Lilison glances up and, attempts to seem not nearly as discomfited as she actually is, as she sits down closer to the fire and just casually nudges the letter into the fire. I'm fine. It's a bit cold. How are you doing?
I've got a little visitor keeping watch over me, so, disquieted is a good word.
Visitor?
She just gestures sort of like lazily to the bat that's been vibing above her head.
Lilison pulls her focus on her palm around and just like tugs at it and looks at Kiva sort of with a questioning look.
No, I think it's fine. I've been trying to bother him through it, just sort of talking aimlessly. Figure if I can't attack him in real life, maybe I can just annoy him incessantly, because I know he's listening, right? So.
That is... if you feel safe doing that, I suppose. But... I do fear what he might be able to pick up from what he hears and sees, I suppose.
Well, my little friend doesn't work in this area, so I could just stab it if you wanted.
She glances over at the bat and then just shrugs.
It's nighttime anyway, so not really a lot of conversations happening that he could get anything useful from anyway. I just figured to leave well enough alone. He already knows we're afraid, so I don't need to hide that from him. But he also knows how angry we are, so let him listen. We're snoring.
That is all true. Just be careful that it doesn't take anything away when it leaves.
Yeah, ever since the wineskin, we've all got to be more careful of that. Kiva looks sort of awkwardly like she doesn't know whether to like join Lillison by the fire or to just go back to her post. Maybe I should just take a walk around the perimeter and just make sure that we're good.
That is actually a very good idea.
Great. Okay, I will go do that. See you when I get back. And she just sort of like does an awkward like salute thing and just goes and decides to take a walk around the tower, keeping an eye out for anything.
Sure. Are you making your way around the tower? Are you crossing the causeway to the woods? Like, how wide of a circuit are you looking to make?
She'd probably look near the tower first and then would expand her search out that way. Like, make sure everything's all good at the tower so that she can take a little bit of time to explore other places. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So with that, Lillison, you watch as Kiva gets up from her place by the fire and begins passing away. First, passing beneath the scaffolding, glancing across the soft mist spilling over the surface of the dark water. Kiva, you can see in the distance the large, dark slopes of Mount Baratok and the rocky crags that enclose the valley around you. Is there anything Lillison is doing in the time that Keep is making her circuit?
Lillison is just gonna call out, "If you see anything, just call out."
Kiva just sort of like holds up a hand, like a thumbs up, but then remembers that Lil probably can't really see her the farther she gets away, so she's like, yeah.
And then as Kiva moves off, Lillison will just stare into the fire and maybe pick up a stick and poke at the burning letter and try to stir it up so that it doesn't look like there was anything that was put into it.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
All right, I'd say you can do so easily enough as Kiva kind of makes a leisurely circuit around the small island, and then you said you were going back across the causeway just to check out the area on the mainland?
Yeah, definitely the woods is a place that she's going to want to make sure there's no, like, wolves or other creatures of the night.
Sure, make a perception check for me.
Let's see if my luck continues. 17.
17, okay. You look around, scanning the area around you. You see, a few patches of mushrooms. You see, obviously the trees rustling around you, a small patch of mist just kind of rolling across the ground, but not really anything of note. No obvious motion of creatures or silhouettes in the woods.
All right. The further away she is from the tower, she just sort of like, this is so cheesy. Now that she has this like connection, she just sort of like checks in with the sword. She's just like, making sure that she can still feel that sort of energy and stuff, and that transference, and then sort of lingers with that because it does make her feel so much less alone than she actually feels. And she's definitely sort of dragging her feet to get back closer to the sort of circle around the tower, because she likes that feeling.
Sure, and you do feel kind of a sensation of warmth, of kind of a growing sense of interest and friendship reflected through the bond.
Yeah, she just sort of like, thinks to herself that we'll be out of here soon enough, but you're gonna go away again for a little while, so and she just sort of like walks back over to the tower and to the fire, and looks at Lilith and just says, "Nothing. Sky's clear."
Good. That's good.
You sure you're okay?
I suppose there's been more to process than I had really expected, which is perhaps a first for me.
Well, I mean, I did give you a lot of information about romance, and I'm known to be quite intellectual when it comes to that, so I can imagine that there's a lot to process. She sort of
There is.
smirks a little.
There is, and I am very grateful for all of your advice and your perspective.
Yeah, and offer still stands if you ever want to chat again. I don't know. It was a good conversation. It was a nice. Haven't had one like that in a while.
Lillison nods, and after a moment she says, "I don't know how to feel about Madame Ava. I don't understand why she went to the trouble of revealing as much about all of us as she did. And I would have sworn that she must be connected in some way with von Zarevich. And yet, what she predicted, we did find." And she nods, kind of, tipping her chin towards the Sun Sword.
I figure, Ez says that, she's been around for a while. She seems to know a lot about Strahd, which means she's probably been around for most of his, reign here, or at least a good chunk of it. People, and this happens a lot with elves I've known, when you have nothing but time on your hands, it's sort of fun to play games with people. Maybe she's working for him. She probably is. Maybe these things aren't really much of a threat to him, which is why he allows her to give away their location. Either way, we should try to take advantage of either his failing or her assistance. Try to make the game as deliberately rule-breaking as possible. Because if he's going to take us out, I want to make sure that it's on our terms, not his.
Lillison smiles a little bit. Deliberately rule-breaking. I would have thought that you were going for the word interesting.
Oh, come now, I was raised a thief and turned into a murderer, and now I've got this, new skill set here. My life has been nothing if not interesting, so my death should be exactly the same.
Lillison stands up, brushes off whatever ash might be on her hands. Well, I was also raised to be a thief and turned into a murderess, so... But I don't intend to die again anytime soon.
Well, if I get the one right, then we're on even footing. We can really understand each other.
Lillison looks at her for a long moment and then just shrugs.
Perhaps a bad joke.
I would much rather not see you die, Kiva.
Likewise. So, don't piss off any giant shambling mounds again. Not that she knows that's what it was. It was a descriptor, not the name of the thing.
It was a mound that shambled.
It was a mound that shambled. That's all she knows. It's a shambling mound.
Well, depending on what we find tomorrow when we go hunting for improbably large plant creatures again, I suppose. There is something that... I don't know, it might be better if we discussed it along the way, but... I can help you when you go in for the strikes. I know that Erthrindir is probably more to be trusted in terms of wood lore, perhaps the strategy beforehand, but when it comes time, each blow in the moment, I can help you with that, if you're willing to trust me.
I already trust you, so... Any help is good, but I figure, we've got our little buddy, and this thing's made of wood, right? And Strahd's already shown us how flammable wood can be. I don't know, I'm hoping it's easy in, easy out.
I hope so too.
Thanks for talking to me. And, of course I trust you. And I'm working hard to try this friends thing, so I appreciate the patience.
She smiles. It's a really awkward kind of half smile. Well, hopefully we can, as you said, easy in, easy out, and perhaps we can be back in Valaki by evening tomorrow. It will be nice to sleep in a real bed again.
I feel like I've gotten so used to sleeping on the damn ground that I don't think I'll ever get comfortable in a bed again. And that's really, really a fucking shame.
That is kind of frightening, yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go work on that. Maybe I'll just kick Metreon over and sleep on him. As like a bed, not like a... It's not... That's Esmeralda's thing, remember? We talked about that.
I am going back over here.
All right. Good night, Lil.
Good night.
Yeah, Kiva will just go back to her little spot and blow a very cute kiss at the bat that's probably still watching her, and then finish out the rest of her watch.
Okay. And as soon as you take your seat, actually, the bat chirps quietly and actually takes off, flopping away from the tower and into the night toward the tree line.
Does it have anything in its little grubby little paws?
Make a perception check with disadvantage. It is, after all, nighttime.
8.
Hard to tell. It's a small creature, small silhouette. Tough to make out those fine details.
Nah, she's got nothing in her bag, so it's probably someone else's shit. Alright. Let's just sit back down.
Alright. And with that, Lillison, is there anything more you'd like to do for the remainder of your watch?
Every so often give a worried glance over at the fire and hope that everything burned cleanly, but other than that, she is just gonna keep watching her surroundings and then duly wake up whoever's watch it is next when she's done.
Alright. And as your watch does eventually come to an end, you make your way over to the wagon, where you see... where you hear shifting movement from within, and you see Esmeralda already kind of leaning up, rubbing her eyes. All right, I guess it's time for my turn.
It is. Thank you.
Of course. By all means, take your rest. We'll see you in 2 hours' time. And she
Yes.
gets up out of the wagon and just kind of takes a seat by the fire, giving Kiva a nod.
Don't let anybody sleep on Metreon.
She blinks. Okay, I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Yeah, Lillison does not explain that comment at all.
Esmeralda still seems kind of half asleep, but she just kind of nods blearily, like, sure, that makes perfect sense. And begins her watch. All right, and she'll make a quick roll. Kiva will use the one that she had before. Okay. With that, with Lillison turning into bed and Kiva and Esmeralda joining together for the final 2 hours of the evening, slowly the gray light begins to brighten on the eastern horizon. Now, of course, it's a strange sight in Barovia. One expects a sun to be tied to it in some way, but for as long as you've been here, there's been no sign of a proper sun. And yet, as though there may have meant to be, there's a bright lightning toward the east, gradually casting more of that gray, sobering illumination upon the land. And by the time the others begin to stir to consciousness, the others around the lake itself has brightened sufficiently into morning. And so, as the rest of you come to, the morning is quiet, peaceful, or at least not interrupted by the presence of others. And the morning is yours. What would you like to do?
I
Earthrendir coughs and walks over to the lake, at which point he just sort of blearily stares at his reflection, sighs, and dunks his head underwater. When he comes out, he is gasping and then kind of walks over to his stuff and starts pulling on the truly hideous ranger's outfit he had on when y'all met him the first time. We're talking like khaki, we're talking pockets everywhere. It is just hideous.
If there are actually pockets everywhere, how hideous can it really be?
Matter of
Is it like a man who got a...
Or...
Yeah, no, like the worst of cargo pants.
It's like the kind of man who got a gift card to a sporting goods store and wants you to know about it.
Pretty much.
Perfect. Continue.
That's all I had to say.
All right. Is there anything anyone else would like to do? You can see that Irina and Ismark have awoken. Ismark kind of splashes his face in the water a few yards away from Earthrendir. Irina is speaking quietly with Esmeralda. It's a quiet, misty morning. There's a bit of occasional drizzle falling and flicking on the ground in small puddles. But otherwise, it seems quiet. Is there anything more you would like to do?
Yes. Amity will roll on the spirit table and then ask Earthrendir, did you catch any fish? Oh, anything.
Oh, right. Let me. He stumbles over to the nets he set out last night and peers into them. Did he catch any fish?
Give me a survival check, if you would.
6!
You did not catch any fish, unfortunately. You caught a little bit of what looks like what are those plants called? Like cottontails? Like the poofy things on top?
Yeah.
Yeah, you caught one of those. It's kind of like half, like kind of sadly entwined with several of the fibers of your net. There's like a large rock that somehow got disturbed into it, but otherwise the net itself is empty.
Sorry, lovely. Think I put it down in the wrong spot last night. I was real tired. We might have to do hardtack and dried fruit again.
Well, we can at least try to make it tasty dried fruit. I don't know if it's possible with the rations we have, but I guess Amity will try to apply the chef feed.
Dun, da, da, da.
Well, with the feat, you can do it.
Alchemy.
That's one of the perks of taking a feat, is that it is assumed that somehow you've always just come back from Costco.
Okay, yeah, I'll bake some dried fruit into the hardtack, and I think you can do something with cattail shoots. I'll look it up later. Anyway, yeah, let's make some snacks.
Perfect. All right, by the time the rest of you have kind of prepared yourselves for the morning, there is a delicious scent coming from the campfire as Amity prepares, somehow, miraculously, in the middle of the wilderness, a delightful breakfast of some kind of baked goods.
Yeah, Metreon, as probably usual at this point, is last to wake up and starts to stumble out of the tower. You see that his shirt is half open. It looks like maybe he's been tattooing himself again. But kind of lazily buttons up his shirt, puts his jacket back on, and just goes to sit down. Where's Kiva at?
She sort of, once her watch was over with, as she just sort of got her stuff and just sort of standing by the fire, just looking like not particularly interested in anything, but just sort of like waiting for them to just get going.
Oi.
Yeah, what's up?
You mind if you give me a bit of a hit at, And Metron gestures very obviously down towards the hilt of the Sunsword.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, we might want to take a walk, though, just because it doesn't work over here.
Oh, right. Yeah, if you don't mind, though, just need, the first taste got me, and...
I got it. Don't worry. She takes off her cloak and with it sort of unsheaths the sun sword and just keeps it sort of wrapped up in there. Just as long as you need.
Thank you. And then it'll only be like maybe a minute or so. Just a nice little quick flash of vitamin D. And after he's done basking in the brief glisten of sunlight, he'll gesture for Kiva to put it away. Thank you.
Yeah. She this is such a fun metaphor. She'll put the sword away and just sort of keep it at her side, and yeah, she's sort of watching the group with interest as she is eating, trying to see like if everyone else is feeling like what's the mood of the group. Are we feeling confident going into this? Because she wants to know sort of like how to match her energy to the rest of them. And she doesn't have a cool ranger outfit like Earthendir, so she's trying to see like what the vibe is.
Earthendir wipes off the last crumbs of his hardtack and stands. Thanks, Amity. All right, lovely people. Congratulations. We're going on an overland hike today. If you have long pants, put them on now, because otherwise you're going to be picking brambles out of your socks for the next 3 days, and nobody wants that.
I don't sound too excited.
Look, Mir always told me, like, you got to do this efficiently. That doesn't mean you have to like it. And by God, we're going to do this efficiently. So, everyone have all the spells and abilities they need to actually take down a tree monster.
Not yet.
What does that even mean?
Are there specific spells and abilities for taking down tree monsters that we should have studied up on before heading out this morning?
Well, one in particular that Amity mentioned.
Right, but I will need 3 people who, and she sort of looks at Earthendir, aren't unsettled by ghosts.
I'm good.
Count me out, love. I've seen enough.
Earthendir swallows. If it's important, I can give it another try.
Lillison looks deeply uncertain.
Hey, you're good with that kind of thing, right? Would you mind?
She shrugs.
Yeah,
If
we
you
can
need
do it
another,
together,
I
it'll
don't
be
mind
fun.
pitching in. All right, then, so's the 4 of us.
Sounds good. Do
yeah.
your thing, Amity. Just call out your spirits and stuff.
Earthendir pans her his candle.
All right, hopefully it works. And Amity will walk to the edge of the peninsula and then set up the classical pentagram candle business and just tell everyone, all right, just sit around the circle at the compass points and close your eyes and wait. It'll be a while.
Kiva sits down but throws a wink at Esmeralda before closing her eyes.
You think you hear Esmeralda chuckle. You're not
Earthendir will-
sure, but she takes a seat as well.
Yeah. Earthendir will take a tentative seat down. He has probably Amity and Kiva can both feel he's got like a death grip on their hands.
Okay. So with that, Amity sets out the circle, and each of you takes up a position on one of the cardinal points. In between you, interspersed at the halfway points of the circle, you see the small candles that Amity had previously established at the seance at Sayre Pool. As she goes around them, each setting them alight with a small flicker of flame, you see reddish orange flames that slowly turn to a purplish tinge. And as she sets herself down at the eastern corner of the circle facing west and closes her eyes, you watch as the candlelight slowly turns darker, burning and spitting embers to a deeper, virulent purple. Slowly, each of the 4 of you join hands as Amity begins to speak quietly, beckoning, coaxing, listening. The others standing by the wagon watch you occasionally glancing back to one another and muffled conversation. But as the minutes pass, 5 minutes becoming 10, becoming a quarter hour, the passage of time seems to grow almost insubstantial. The soft lapping of the waves against the shore, the chatter of distant conversation, dimming to a faint, distant buzz. The mist swirls faintly and gently atop the surface of the lake, forming around you in a soft spiral as the light begins to dim and darken, strengthening the candlelight as it fights against the shadows that swirl. A half hour passes as Amity continues to whisper and chant. You feel yourselves swaying in time with a drumbeat that you cannot fully hear nor comprehend. You feel and hear whisperings to Kiva and Esmeralda for the first time, Erthrendir, and somewhat uneasy reunion as you feel the boundaries between worlds grow thin. Around you, you can see the shimmering, a faint silver thread in the air that begins to ripple and swirl like a curtain. And as Amity reaches up a hand, almost pushing it aside, the area around you extinguishes into darkness, and the veil is pulled away once more. You watch as the mists begin to rise at the edges of the circle, once more forming swirling, misty walls. And then, slowly, from the eternal dark, they come. Dozens of silhouettes, fewer than before by some small amount, but still many. Many spirits, some of familiar shapes and forms, but many others different and unfamiliar. Men and women and children, creatures of every race and gender. Some dressed like Barovian commoners, others bearing axes or fierce facial markings, pressing their hands and faces hungrily, desperately against the walls of the circle, shivering with the cold and the warmth that they are drawn to. As they stand there silently, pushed up against the force that Amity's circle has conjured, they fall silent. And Amity, you are once more filled with a sense of patience, a sense of requisition. As you can see upon the spirit's eyes, a willingness to be called.
The ground begins to tremble as the candles flare up, and Amity's voice booms. "Spirits, can you answer me?"
There is a ripple through the crowd as each of the spirits sways, eyes fluttering, forms flickering between solidity and insubstantiality. "We listen, we hear. Name what you seek, call us so that we may enter. Let us feel the light."
Amity's eyes are black voids with little tendrils coming out. "To drain life," she says. "To make a tree wither and die with a word."
There is a faint pause. And then, somehow, in the darkness, the shadows blacken even further. Distantly, the ground rumbles, but then it begins to grow, swelling, mounting into a crescendo that far surpasses what Amity summoned. You hear the earth split and quake and groan, and the spirits suddenly shrink back, whispering, fearful. You watch as, from the west, a path opens, the bodies pulling away, the wall of spiritual flesh making passage for a new silhouette that begins to approach. You see in the darkness overhead black lightning crackling, distant thunder rumbling far away, growing closer. As through the crowd a gaunt figure approaches. its features illuminated by the flickering violet lights of the candles. You see crimson red robes lined with gold trim, once rich and beautiful, but torn and rotted with the weight of decades or more, hanging from the figure's limbs. You can see its face, masculine but sunken and skeletal, with gray-white skin and black opals where the eyes should be, the top of its scalp implanted with glittering rubies the size of acorns. The character for Omega, the symbol of the end, is tattooed across its forehead, and its teeth are not white, but shards of amber. It raises a hand toward the wall of force that stands between the spirits and the candle, and you watch as its fingernails curve into long, elegant black claws. Where the robe should cover its chest, you see now the yellow-brown of the ancient bones of a humanoid ribcage sitting exposed, still littered with rotten entrails. In its other hand, it carries a staff forged of platinum, the upper shaft carved into the shape of 3 diamonds of varying heights. The lower half of the staff you see is carved with countless intricate arcane runes, and the end is sharpened to a point. Arcs of lightning crackle across and around the staff, spiraling with a fierce energy as the air stinks of burning ozone. The figure slowly draws a fingernail down the spiritual wall, splitting it like a veil, and then steps through. It slowly surveils the area around you, and then, affixing its gaze on the area around you, slowly directs its opal eyes toward Amity. I am At these words, you hear thunder rumbling in the distance as cracks of scarlet power sear through the earth like molten magma. In life, I commanded powers beyond mortal contemplation. In death, I linger behind the veil of the dark powers that dwell within the shadows. Long has it been since a mortal dared reach across to seek audience with these dread spirits. What power do you seek, girl?
Blight.
To blight life, the essence and raw manna of necromancy, this I can grant. Open your right palm, child, and hold it toward the sky.
Amity holds her hands towards him and says, I welcome you, friend. I recognize your name from the tower. We are fortunate to have such a powerful visitor.
Good. You know the honor of history. But let me bestow upon you my gift, that my power may live on beyond the veil. The creature sweeps a hand across Amity's palm, and when the bony fingers slip away, you see a black flame crackling with the purplish light of the void, hovering just above your skin and flesh. When you seek to rend your enemies through the energy of death, as you speak this spell and cant my name. It is long since I bore it, but it carries power yet. It gives a slight inclination of a head, not a bow, but a mark of gratitude for respect given. May your strength be my gift, soul speaker. And as he inclines his head and lifts it, there is a rumble, a crackling of black lightning overhead. A blast, a bolt of plasma flashes down from the sky, bursting around him, searing with black light, and with a thunderclap he vanishes. And with him, the other spirits and mists as well, violently thrusting you back into the Barovian day as the candles extinguish with a hiss. And you are left once more beneath the gray Barovian light, As Amity, you see that dark purplish flame glittering in your hand, slowly fading before it dissipates across your fingertips.
Amity is silent for several seconds, and then stands up, looks between the three companions who participate in the seance. All right, I think it worked. You can get up now.
Obligatory, what did we see when this was all going on, Jagna? Because I feel like this is new for Kiva and Lillison.
What each of you saw was, looking at the circle, you saw the group of them still in place.
Kiva was in the circle, wasn't she?
Oh yeah, Kiva was. Kiva would have seen all of this, as would have Esmeralda. Lillison did not.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, and I think Metreon didn't as well, right?
Yeah, you and I were hanging out.
Yes.
Yeah, so what do we
from
see?
the outside, what Lillison would have seen is the group of four sitting in the circle, kind of a darkening of light around them that forms almost a nimbus around the group. The candlelight suddenly flaring as Amity speaks, though strangely you can't hear the words as though they're heard from far away or through a window. And then, as of a single moment, you saw the candlelight flare, a great wind sweeping through the circle. And then each of the four members of the circle's eyes snap open as there was a roil of darkness across them. And when the group of four opened their eyes again, looking throughout the circle, you can see that they appear to be breathing hard, present once more in the space. But now, interestingly enough, the candles appear to be half melted into slag around them.
Metreon looks over at Lillison as they're, I guess, watching this unfold. I think we made the right decision staying out of that.
I suspect so. Are you afraid of your ghosts, Metreon?
I mean, I don't really like ghosts. Having been possessed by one, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Literally, it's like an irony taste, like blood.
It was a bit more like copper for me, but...
Oh, interesting, yeah. Guess it's different for everybody.
I suppose. How is it that a conversation like this has become so normal in such a short period of time?
Well, and you see Metreon, the gears are turning, and he's still staring out at the party who are engaged in the seance, but almost looking through them and lost in thought. I can't really say. I mean, it feels normal to talk about it now, which I don't know if that's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing. It's just very unexpected.
How is you feeling, by the way?
What?
Well, I mean, how's you feeling? How was your night?
It was...
While this conversation is going on, if you don't mind, we'll cut back in a second, but for now, as Amity and the others are violently transported back to reality, what are the four of you doing?
Kiva just sort of looks at Amity with sort of like astonishment, but also like just she's so impressed by the version of Amity that she saw during the seance. This very confident, powerful, impressive, frightening woman. So she's looking. I think she was expecting to come out of it scared, but she's just sort of in awe, and looks at Amity and then Erthrindir and then Ez and says, "Okay, with that on our side, I think we might actually have a good shot."
Erthrindir's just got his hand clapped over his mouth. He's gone very white, and his eyes are fixed on Amity. You were right. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have. You were right. I shouldn't have been. Of course, that's what. I'm sorry.
All
And he
right.
just stands up very abruptly and good. I'm glad you got the power you needed. Be ready to go. And he just stumbles away from the circle towards the tower.
Amity goes to and like lays a hand on his shoulder. I'm sorry. I won't let you do that again.
No, it's not. He kind of shakes it off. No, it's not. I. He just puts his head in his hands. It's not the ghost. It's a. Never expected to see someone like them again. I don't think it was actually them, but the robes, the staff. Could have been the splitting image of one of the Red Wizards.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry? You couldn't know. You don't. It's not like you carefully selected. Hey, let me find someone who's going to viscerally horrify my boyfriend. It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. It's not your fault. It's not. Thank you. And he just kind of gently removes her hand from his shoulder and heads towards the others.
Kiva just offers a hand to Ez to stand up and decides to give Amity and Erthrendir whatever space that they might need, and just sort of like pulls her into a whispered conversation about what they all saw and, isn't that cool and shit like that.
Esmeralda kind of nods shakily as she stands up. Her eyes kind of wide as she looks at Amity with some kind of newfound measure of respect and almost awe. Now that is a woman who could surpass many seers as soothsayers one day.
Well, that's good, right? We have that on our side. We don't even need Madame Ava. Madame Ava who?
Certainly. Goodness, sorry. That was something.
Yeah, no, definitely weird. I'd be interested to see if, she could conjure up just like anyone she wants,
In time, perhaps. I have heard that soothsayers can, their connection with the realm of spirit can be far stronger than even those who contact it only on a clerical basis. It is said that the greatest soothsayers live with one foot in the realm of spirit and one in the world of material. It seems to me that, one day she could certainly command, quite a lot of power in the other realm.
Do you think that she can only talk to people who died here? Is it like in other, she could find other people in other places?
She looks thoughtful at that, frowning as she rolls an Arcana check. It is possible. From what little I know of ghosts, Van Nerten was always more experienced with them. I tended to prefer more corporeal undead in my own trials, but they do tend to stick around in places where they have some kind of unfinished business. They tend to be tied to locations or regions. Only sometimes do they make their way across some form of travel. It is possible that, especially given Barovia's nature, and as a place where souls do not pass to beyond that, she blinks. Oh, that is an unpleasant thought. It is no wonder that, she looks at you. It is no wonder perhaps that there have been so many spirits at both places, and so many different ones at that. In a realm where no soul proceeds onward, when its time of flesh is done, then we are standing in the detritus of centuries of death, centuries of spirit, some that might have found new homes, but who knows how many others have lingered.
Just looking for one. thoroughly depressing end to a otherwise interesting conversation. I'm gonna go check on everyone else, Irina and Ismark.
Yes, sorry. Sorry, just got a bit carried away there.
No. It part of your charm. I'm just gonna go cry, I guess. Irina, Ismark, are we doing something? Are we hanging out?
Irina has now has her armor on and her rapier at her side. Ismark is kind of casting glances at Amity, like with some kind of mixture of awe and confusion, and glances back to you. Yes, the two of us are quite ready to go whenever the others are. Is something the matter?
Just
Everyone seems to be a bit disturbed.
well, Amity did a seance and got this thing to help us kill the tree, and then I asked Esmeralda about it, and we are standing in her words, the detritus of souls that have died in Barovia, and just a reminder of the unfortunate situation we're in. So, is it too early to have a drink? Are we not doing that now? Should we phone for the road, maybe?
It's never too early, love.
At
Great.
the word detritus, Ismark actually checks his boot to see if, almost as if to see if there's some kind of ectoplasm below there. But at Metrion's words, he glances back up again.
Great. Let's
what is
give some drinks.
beautiful? What's everyone else doing?
Amity is going up to whatever so much companions may be outside the circle, and says, "You won't believe who we found."
Who?
Amity points to the name on the tower.
Kazan? Kazan? What?
Kazan. He said it was
Kazan.
Kazan.
Who was that?
Well, a wizard, and okay, you know how Erthandir was saying it must have taken someone really powerful to set up this no magic zone or whatever it's called.
Oh, you figured that that's the guy who made it.
It's him.
Oh.
Lillison looks, first of all, extremely glad that she no longer has to answer Metrion's question about how her night was, because that would have been impossible to answer. And second of all, just suddenly intensely interested. You saw him, spoke to him. What was he like?
Not for very long. He was, I guess, regal in a powerful sort of way. He had this omega symbol encrusted in gems and this like rib cage. He looked, well, not exactly human.
Ah,
Yeah, I'm pretty good on having not seen that, but I'm glad he was helpful for you.
I wonder if I'm going to get to meet like other powerful, important figures.
Is this something that you can select who you wish to speak to?
I'm not exactly sure. I know I can. Well, maybe he was the only one who was powerful enough to know that the spell I needed. But does Amity have any clue whether she can ask for a particular dead figure?
I would say that given your current knowledge of your seance feature, and speaking, slightly from a meta perspective as well, she would get the sense that the spirits she summons are those that are most able to force their way to the front of the line, so to speak. The kind of the mechanics that you seem to glean are that when the seance begins and the attention of the spirits is drawn from the local area, you are to some extent able to determine what kind of spirit you may attract based on the kind of ability or power you were searching for. Based on your sample size of 2, attracting the spirit of a seer for an augury spell, and attracting the spirit of what seemed to be some sort of undead mage for a necromantic magic. Seems that there might be some kind of correlation there. But you're not sure if you can actively target a named spirit. But it seems that perhaps there's some resonance between the type of power you seek and the type of spirit that appears to answer it based on the location you're at.
Right. So first we were at a Vistani encampment, and I needed to know the future. So obviously it's Vistani fortune teller, and now I'm at this guy's tower, and I need some powerful magic. So I mean, well, you know how spirits sort of are inhabit or tied to the places where they were in life.
Lillison glances over towards Metreon and then slowly nods.
So if we want to target a specific person, like if we find out about some really interesting figure or someone who we want to like ask some questions to, then maybe if we find out some magic that they're really associated with or some place that we're really associated with, I could find them.
That is fascinating. I wonder what would happen if you tried that in the Abbey.
That is an interesting question.
You think it's something? I mean, if it's tied to like a place, right? Like if it's a haunted place. I mean, maybe you think like, you know, something like the church back in Vallaki. You know, would it like be able to? Would you be able to see Father Lucian?
Maybe. Or we saw a statue of... Actually, did we see the label on that statue? Did we all see that it was Sergei's statue?
Which statue?
The statue of Sergei Konservich at Krishka?
The statue you saw in the gazebo, that was a statue of the Morning Lord.
Oh, do I just not know the module? Fuck.
Possibly.
So, sorry. Right. It's possible I could talk to Father Lucian that way.
It's just a thought, you know. Just don't mind me.
No, I do mind you. I mean, in the good way.
So, I mean, these ghosts, they got to know things, right? So, I mean, maybe we start to find ghosts who, you know, maybe can teach us things about, you know, or what's his face? And Metreon puts his two fingers to his lips and like does a little biting motion.
Lillison nods. Or if we can speak with Father Lucian or whoever might have been holy, who died around or near the Abbey, who could help us in that way.
Yeah, I mean, what about that, what was the name? That Saint Markovia, yeah?
Yes.
Or Saint Andral for the church.
That's right too, yeah.
There is so much opportunity that has opened up to us now. Amity, you're very, very brave to be able to do this.
Thank you. I mean, I guess so. I was just thinking about it as something that we need to do, but thank you. Oh, if Ethandu, here's the history one, right? So, well, he's not feeling too well right now from being in the seance, but when he's feeling better, maybe he can look for some important historical figures or helpful ghosts.
I think it sounds like he would like that very much. Is he? And she glances over to wherever Erthrundir went off. All right.
Erthrundir is... Or should I cut in here? Yeah. Erthrundir is standing by what's left of the old campfire. And you see him kind of settle down, his face sort of impassive, but there's something odd in his eyes. And he reaches into his pack, rummaging, just throwing things out of it, and returns with the little leather-bound book Lillison gave him. And then he just reaches into it, and with like a grunt, he tears pages out of it, just about a dozen, a sheaf of them, just holding them in his hand, and then just looking at the embers of the fire. and he touches the corner of them to where a flame starts to lick up at them. And then he stops and just stamps out the fire and crumples them into a little ball, which he shoves into his pack with a substantial amount of anger, it looks like. And then he just stands and looks over at the group and waves very awkwardly. Hey, y'all, what's going on?
It seems all right to me.
Lillison gives Metreon a "are you kidding me" kind of look.
It's a joke, love. She's clearly in distress. Why don't you go check up on him, yeah?
What if you went to check up on him?
I mean, I could. I feel like he responds better to you, and if he's going to be the one leading this expedition, maybe someone who's going to put him in better spirits. But maybe that's a poor choice of words. Yeah, I could try if you want.
I think right at this moment, perhaps it should be you.
Metreon gives her a bit of a look, kind of reciprocates that "are you kidding me" look. But I feel like there's something behind that. Is there something that I can do to see if there's some other kind of motivation behind that? Maybe like an insight check.
I mean, I'm okay with it, if Dragna is.
You're looking to make an insight check for what?
I just want to see what her motivation is for sending me over, if there's any other motivation beyond just like...
I mean, you can't get motivation as such, but you can get a sense of her body language.
Okay. So I can or no?
Go for it. And if Lillison's being some kind of deceptive, you can roll a deception check.
Always.
even when you're telling the truth, I'm sure you would roll a deception check.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So that's a 3 from me.
That is a 25 from me.
She's pretty hard to read, I would say.
Yeah, Metreon shakes his head and, all right, I'll see what I can do. And, he'll head over towards Earthendeer.
Earthendeer, jolts as he sees Metreon coming over and frantically tries to put out the last of the fire he's set to the bundle of paper, but it's not really going, so he just resorts to stomping on it a little and then just looks over at him, foot half raised.
Is this kind of like a crime for you? Like burning books?
Not books I wrote myself. They don't matter.
Well, what's it say? And Metreon will reach down and pick up any kind of remaining pages.
Earthendeer lunges for them to try and get them before he can. But I presume this would be some sort of a post check.
It's like a post
if
check.
your ranks seem to get it, then this will be a contested dexterity check.
Okay.
All right, just dex.
Yep. And
Right.
And you put multiple pages in there, right?
Yeah, there's 6.
Gotcha.
There are exactly 6, in fact.
All right. The margin of victory might matter here.
Oh wow.
Metron, how many pages are you trying to grab?
19.
I'm just trying to grab the bundle. So all of
All
it.
right, I would say given that disparity, Arthur kind of knocks your fingers off, but you grab 3 pages.
Okay. Yeah. And I'll start to just kind of peruse whatever text is on there.
All right.
So
in a
we're
rough
trying to burn
sense,
anyway.
what does he read?
So, there's very little common on here. It's weird. It's this odd mix of these runes that you've seen him draw, for his magic before, and also looks like musical notation spiraling along the edges, the margins of the page. It's all in very scratchy, scribbly handwriting, and there's frequent crossings out, but there's a definite intent to it. It's very, very complex.
So what is this? Is this like a code? Are you trying to write songs or something?
Yeah, a code. It's it's my diary. It's
Oh, the diary. Maybe I could Ava, you read Elvish, right?
Yeah, why?
It's
Oh,
not
that's a
Elvish. It's a language I've made myself.
Oh, bollocks. Never mind.
No, well, yeah. Sorry, I don't
Cryptology.
speak that language.
Yeah, no, I'd wager you don't. But yeah, can I have that back, please, if you don't mind?
I mean, you was
Please?
burning it. It's basically trash at this point. I mean,
No, I just changed my mind. I think it's worth hanging on to. I just, trying to do less things in moments of peak. That's a good life skill, to not do that.
Metron presents the pages back towards him. But as Randy goes to reach him, he yanks them and puts them behind his back. You really gotta get the anger checked, though.
Earthendeer just stares him down like he can't believe what he's seeing. Is this a serious thing? Or is this an intervention? Do I need to sit down?
No, I'm just fucking with you here. And he hands him back the pages.
Oh, thank you. And he hastily shoves them in his pocket. Yeah, it's just stuff. It's nothing big. I just way of coping with Barovia.
Yeah, we all have our ways. And Metron pulls out his wineskin and takes a swig of his wine and puts it back.
Earthendeer cocks his head. You mind if I have a hit of that?
Yeah, just make sure to wipe the mouth off first.
Oh, he kind of fine. All right, and he will do so. Whew. And then hand it back. All right. I've wasted enough time having a temper tantrum. Shall we get going?
I mean, I suppose is everyone ready? Amity,
Yeah,
you
I
go?
mean, we're just burning daylight here. No, really, it's just a okay.
No. Earthendeer kind of shakes himself, kind of trying to get the old I am a brave park ranger back. Right. So, let's get going. And wait, shit. Before we go. And he kind of turns to Amity. Amity, since we're probably going to be getting into some violence, do you want me to give you some protection again? The bardic kind.
Is there other kinds of protection that you guys pass back and forth?
I would hope so. I mean, we don't want no babies running around.
Earthendeer, it's amazing how quickly absolute horror can be replaced by embarrassment. I think what you want. Our private life is our private life, motherfuckers. And none of your business. And no, it's not any. It's armor, magic armor. We're not talking about this.
So, Overland
Do you want any
hikes.
of that, Amity? Yes.
One protection, please. And
yes, ma'am.
you want one of these, and she holds out these salty, fried cattail shoots. There's only 3 of them. Obviously, you get one. And whoever's going to be, up close and personal might want the others.
Yeah,
I'd say maybe Kiva and Ismark.
Yeah, whatever. Maybe it should go to people though who have weaker constitutions. And she sort of very obviously nods her head at Lillison.
Oh yeah, just give her all 3 then.
Lillison gives.
I don't think that's how this works.
Yeah, Lillison gives Metron a look like, no, I think you should have one.
Fine by me. And Metron will take one from Amity and start to bite into it.
Yeah.
I assume it's good because it's Amity's cooking, but it is a cattail, so who knows?
Yeah,
Yes.
Kiva will take one and then look at Ez and Ismark and just be like, it's yours. Whoever wants to, I don't know. Do they each get 1.5 temporary hit points if they split it?
Any of you guys can take it. Your companions will excuse themselves.
How many of them are there?
Understood.
3, and
3.
each of them gives 3 temp HP.
Hey, it's something.
It's something.
Wait, if Aerith already
no,
has one
indeed.
and Metron has one, Kiva will give hers to Lillison and not take it.
Lillison will
Corpse.
refuse to take it. I don't intend on being harmed today.
Is there a battle of stubborn women that we can have real quick to like roll to force her to take it?
I will use up a subtle.
Is this charisma?
I will use up subtle suggestion if I need to.
Esmeralda just sighs.
Contested charisma checks?
If you don't want it, I'll take it.
I mean, can you conjure just like a little kiddie pool full of mud? Just let them get it out of the way.
Are we really arguing about baked goods? Yeah, if it makes you feel better, I'll take it. I'll be on the front lines anyway.
Amazing. There, see? It's so much easier when you come in to decide. I don't know what that accent was. That was a different character. Anyway.
Okay. Earthendeer kind of side-eyeing all this. Politeness, I swear to Corellian. And then he places his hand on Amity's shoulder and closes his eyes, and in the other he raises his wand and begins to hum a little tune, and he's going to cast Mage Armor on Amity.
Excellent. Fun little mechanical tidbit. That seance counts as a short rest for Amity, so she's using this to reroll her spirit table.
Go for it.
Sick.
Nice, that's a better one. The cracks of this subclass are starting to peer through.
Woo!
Okay, so as you cast the spell, Earthendeer lifting his wand into the air like a baton, you hear a slow mounting, the distant echo of brass. And then echoing one after another like a fanfare, a nightly welcome on trumpets. As slowly appearing around Amity, you see mist forming the silhouette of almost resembling a true suit of armor, of plate, but formed by swirls of mist. And then you watch this slowly entwining from the mist, not metal, but thorns. Black roots covered in spiny growths that begin entwining around Amity's form, interlocking like plates of armor, but glistening with black brackish sap. At the chest of it, instead of a breastplate, you see an icon, almost, a pattern that resembles nothing more than a screaming skeletal face pushing free of the chest. And then slowly it begins to fade like shadow sinking into her skin, until there are only the thorns glittering in the gray light, and then even those are gone.
I don't know how I feel about that. It looked cool, but do you feel differently?
I'm not sure. Actually, do I feel different? I get.
You do feel a kind of the sense of a sense of protection, just a small bit of weight, not to hinder you, but enough to remind you that this protection is present around you. And when you look down at the edges of your fingers and your forearm, you think you see a faint shimmer of dark light, just an inch or so away from your flesh, but that's all you can see from here.
Amity knocks on her tail. It's subtle, but there's definitely something. And he gives a little peck to Earthendeer.
Ew.
Oh, shut up.
All right, let's crack on then. We got a tree to chop down or something. I don't know. Come on then.
Yep.
Lead the way.
Earthendeer will step away, cast the same thing on himself, by which I presume the same thing happens. And then...
It's slightly similar, although when it's cast upon you, around your form, you see instead almost like black plate armor, kind of reminiscent of the suit you saw in the Durst house, but with spines and ridges across it in demonic curves and forms. And once again, it shimmers across your body, and there's almost a skeletal face protruding like a seal on the chest, and then it vanishes into darkness.
You know, once we get out of here, I'm going to look forward to having magic do what I tell it to again. I miss that. But yeah. Let's go kill this damn tree.
Okay. Esmeralda glances toward you. Right then, do we think that we'll return here? Should I leave the wagon? I imagine we're not going to be taking it into combat.
I would suggest you leave it here.
Excellent. That makes my life a bit easier. Let's just... Oh, excuse me. And she makes her way back to the wagon, hurriedly puts up the keep out sign again. That should do it. She gives a nod of self-satisfaction and steps back toward the group.
I'm obsessed.
You are not at all afraid that somebody will steal it.
She blinks and looks at you. I put keep out on it.
It's perfect. No, it's perfect.
It's foolproof.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it's
in all
foolproof.
seriousness, there's no big deal out here. We should be fine.
Lillison blinks multiple times. It glances over to the fire pit where a certain letter no
Oh.
longer is, and
Great, I almost forgot. Thanks you. And she actually goes back into the wagon, and you hear the clattering and what sounds like small glass vials being taken out of a chest.
What you doing,
Don't
Mom?
forget the explosives. No, the high-grade explosives are definitely necessary for a journey.
A few moments pass, the door closes, and then she slides very gingerly out of the trapdoor. Then she flashes you a thumbs up. Good catch, thank you. Now I'm ready to go.
that wasn't precise. Well, if there is a large explosion, I suppose we will know what happened.
Yep.
Well, Ranger Randy, lead the way.
Please, for the love of God, never call me that ever
What,
again.
Ranger Randy?
That, yes.
What's
They
wrong
used
with
to.
that, Ranger Randy?
It's what the tourists used to call me because they didn't bother to pronounce my name. It's on my name tag and everything. It was the worst.
Right, gotcha. All right, well, then lead the way, Ranger Randir. How about that?
One of these days. All right, Etrion. Let's get moving.
Metron shrugs.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Into the
And so-
woods.
With that, you depart the wagon and the tower and begin making your way across the causeway. Lillison, you were saying.
So does an overland hike, or whatever it was that you called it, is that just what we were doing before, but with more pockets?
Well, that and the pockets are not actually. It's more so I can have something that won't get torn up by thorns. It's more that we're going off-road, and that means we are probably gonna be running into stuff that it's a pain. Although with the path this sort of thing cleared, it might as well be a road.
Do we get patches at the end of this excursion? Like to put on a vest and stuff?
Earthrendeer opens his mouth, considers something for a moment, rummages around in his bag. No. I left the ones for the kids at home. Sorry.
What's the point? I mean, this is your whole job. I feel like I've been denied a significant part of the off-road hiking experience.
I can give you my nature spiel if you'd like.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Metreon especially would love
No.
to hear the whole thing. Yeah, from
God.
start to finish.
It would be very
All right.
educational.
Well, it would be very uneducational because these are not the trees and animals I live around, but I'll do my best. So, the forest is a wonderful thing, you understand. And there's many types of flora and fauna that live inside.
Metron
I'll leave the
shoots Kiva a seething glance.
Kiva just blows him a nice kiss and smiles.
So, do we want to go through the Earthrendeer tourist guide?
No.
Yeah,
Yes.
all 90 minutes.
Oh, 100%.
We will assume that as you go, Earthrendeer is giving a wonderful talk. I presume
Bonus
it's been
episode.
practiced several times
It is.
basically before a mirror.
Bonus
Yep,
episode.
It is so deadpan that like there is no enthusiasm in this voice. This is a recitation.
We'll just play that. We'll just play that one fireside that he did like 12 episodes ago.
There you
Exactly.
go. Yeah, let's intercut that.
All right. Great. So, as Earthrendeer begins his wonderful lecture on the glory of the outdoors and of not dying in them, you make your way southward down along the old hunting trail, away from Lake Baratok, and before long, coming to meet up once again with the Old Svalich Road and the Raven River Crossroads, leaving behind the trail and passing by the southern path that leads up into the peaks of Mount Gacchus. You travel west and then south, taking the branch toward the Wizard of Wines once more. Traveling down along the way, you pass between the trees, passing moss-covered stones and rustling boughs and branches as the misty rain pitter-patters beneath the canopy. You continue onward for 30 minutes, an hour, and before long emerge on the other side of the trees, once more facing the ruins of the Wizard of Wines. You can see the carnage wrought in the earth, the ruins of the structure splintered and smashed, lying across the vineyard, still quite undisturbed, but still as raw as you saw them the previous day. And in the distance, leading past the southern copse of trees, continuing along the trail, the deep gouges in the earth that signify the great creature's tracks through the wood.
As we're moving through the area of the wines, the winery, Metron actually kind of falls back towards Kiva. Unless, Kiva, are you staying towards the front, or?
No, I think she's sort of just going wherever, she'll probably move around a lot, so I would say you could probably catch her in the back alone if you need
Alright,
to.
Yeah. He'll, oi.
Yeah.
Listen, you don't think I'm in the wrong, right? And he points his thumb over at the now destroyed winery.
What, taking the money?
Yeah, I mean, we wasn't compensated, and, it's not like they was using it.
No, I don't think you were. I mean, I think there are competing needs, right? We obviously didn't know what was going to happen. Amity did, sure, but in the moment there, we didn't know what was going to happen. And I probably would have done the same thing if I'd looked around. So you're not going to find any judgment from me on that. Maybe, give a little something to them, or I don't know.
But we're gonna go. Now we're just gonna go. We're gonna go get our asses kicked by a fucking giant tree. I mean.
Well, then no. Yeah, I mean, if we're successful, right? Then there's no. I think there's no harm, no foul, right? We get them back their gem thing that they want, and we keep the money. But if we all, get murdered, maybe one of us just scratch a little note in the ground and leave the gold in a pile for him, like a finder's fee.
Then why am I feeling weird about it then? I mean, there's something about the way that when Amity talks to you and she looks in your eyes and they kind of sparkle all golden like, it's I don't know.
It's called having a conscience, Metron. It's not a bad thing.
It feels weird and I don't like it.
Well, I think, this place is bad and we've done tough things to survive, but I'm not trying to say we're like heroes or something, but we've done good too. This sort of rubs off on you after a while. We've been surrounded by a few good people, Ismark and Irina and Ez, and it's hard not to get caught up in being kind and having a conscience and a sense of morals.
As you say that, Kiva, you feel a faint glimmer of what feels like pride from the bond in the back of your head.
Kiva stops for a moment and she just sort of smiles a little bit, and we're gonna make mistakes and we're gonna learn from them and we're gonna do things that maybe don't necessarily sit right with us, but I think it's about the times that you sort of pick yourself up after those mistakes, right? So you did something, you took their money, well, we're gonna go take care of this for them and hopefully get them away to survive and get their property back. So like cosmically, I think evens out.
Yeah, it's like, if your landlord says you owe rent and you steal your landlord's couch and you sell it for rent money, it's, all balances out.
Yeah, I've never had a landlord, but I assume that that's how it works.
I mean, me neither, but I've heard about them,
Right, yeah.
I just, I spent this whole time just, not even just this whole time here, just my life, just trying not to feel things. And, this certainly helps me taps on the wineskin. But ever since I've been here and around you all people, it's just been all feelings and mushiness and irritation and all that.
You can admit that you like me. I'm a very, very charming, fun person, and I'm an incredible listener, and got great hair. So I get it, right?
The hair is great. Yeah. It's very beautiful blue.
Look, we're all a bunch of very broken people, but I think we're very lucky that we found each other, because while in some ways we're still broken and breaking, I think I'm starting to feel a little bit healed from knowing all of you, but you especially. It's nice to have people that I think understand, even when I don't understand. So I'm not saying you have to go out and, buy us all matching outfits and stuff, but I think it's okay to lean into the good things that this sort of partnership makes us feel. I'm not saying, again, to trust blindly either, but, you've got a lot of people that care about you now and that have your back, and it's good to sort of revel in that.
I don't know, it just doesn't feel like I deserve it,
I think the mark of it being a good thing is when you get it even when you feel like you don't deserve it. If you feel like you do deserve it, that leads you down a sort of dangerous path. Like you're entitled to stuff, and, I'll never feel worthy of the second chances and third chances and fourth chances that I've been given, but I think that keeps me honest somehow.
Right, yeah. Well, thanks for this. It's illuminating, as always. I'm just going to hang back here and drink a little bit more, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. And
anything to drown out that goddamn nature talk.
Look, I did that for you. I'm very upset that you didn't appreciate it. I really thought you would enjoy it.
You know what? Speaking of buying clothes, I bought him clothes, and look at what he's wearing now. All khaki and pockets and all that. It's disgusting.
I didn't even realize that elves could dress like that. I thought, I was the outlier wearing pants and stuff, because every elf I've seen is just flowy robes and capes and skirts, but this is a new level of fashion that I have yet to see, and I'm wondering if it's just like a him thing, or if all elves are supposed to carry cargo pants in their packs and I missed the memo.
You see Metron kind of chuckle, and he takes a sip of his wine. Yeah, right. I'll let you get, but thank you.
Yeah, and don't ever be a stranger with the wine, right? Because, I'm just saying, you could share, and we could be, drunk together, which is even better than being drunk alone.
Metron gives her a bit of a look. Fine here, and he passes her the wineskin.
See, this is friendship already, and she'll just take a drink and then, sort of fall into a contented silence with him.
He takes it back and wipes off the mouth of it.
And as you step back into pace with the others, Kiva, you feel a mild sense of amusement from the sword in the back of your mind, mixed with the kind of quiet, burning sense of pride, undercut with a fierce sense of determination for the task that lies ahead.
This is really trying to turn her good, and I'm both disgusted and in love with it.
All right. The group of you continues southward, following the tracks as they utterly fail to enter the woods on either side of the path. Instead, they continue onward as the trail continues, leaving the vineyard and winery behind and passing once more between the dark woods that stretch up and over the road on either side. As you follow the deep gouges in the earth, the places where this creature has trod, you look upward and around you and see some spots where branches have been broken or splintered as though pushed aside by an entity of great size. In others, you see places where the bush has been stomped flat, large puddles having formed from the rain and moisture, where these prints, whatever they may be, dragging like tendrils across the earth, have left smeared in the mud. And as you're gazing into the underbrush off to the side, perhaps 45 minutes or so after the Wizard of Wines has vanished from sight, Kiva and Lillison, each of you see a dark shadow, very slightly matching your pace through the woods, perhaps a few dozen yards off.
Lillison stops and stares at this shadow, trying to make out what kind of being it is.
Kiva just tries to flag down Erthrindir, specifically, and just says, "I'm not sure if this is a normal nature thing, but we've got some company."
Erthrindir stops mid-spiel and kind of looks back. Let's find out. So this shadow, is it like coming from the treetops above, or?
As you cast your gaze out toward it, you see Esmeralda glancing in that direction as well. Anyone who'd like to inspect what the shadow is may make a perception check for me.
Let's do it.
13?
18.
Okay. It looks like nobody else rolled significantly high. Okay, so as each of you kind of look around, Amity and Lillison, like kind of scanning the space, not immediately noticing. Lillison, you see it almost like seems to have vanished from sight for a moment, but Kiva, you find it again, a few yards away from the place where you first found it. A large, dark shadow making its way across the ground, and for a moment it's difficult to tell what it is. It seems wider than it is tall, but it's difficult to tell the exact size until you kind of peer beyond the underbrush and the hanging black vines draped along the gnarled trees. And you see a branch that you estimate, based on the woodland around it, to perhaps be 6, 7, 8 feet off the ground. And then just beyond it, you see a glint of a fierce amber eye, just glinting with bestial malevolence. And then it blinks and vanishes behind the shadows once again.
We were looking for this fucking giant tree, and it just so happens to be following us to our destination. Awesome. Superb.
As just a note, given what Kiva rolled, it doesn't seem to be tree-shaped. It seems to have a distinctly quadrupedal form, almost canine. And it is big, judging by its proportion to the branch. You're abruptly reminded of the size of the wolves that accompanied Strahd on his first encounter with you, and the one that attacked Amity not a few days past.
So she will amend her statement to say it looks like a giant bear made of twigs, which is even less helpful than a giant tree. And just sort of look to the others like, what are we going to try to engage?
And just to clarify, it doesn't look like it's made of twigs. It is behind the underbrush. You think it's some kind of animal.
Okay, sorry. My misunderstanding of what the branches are. Okay, never mind. She amends her statement a third time, but I'm not going to narrate that.
Wait, what? And Metron starts to look very nervous, given his reputation with dire wolves. Should we just keep going? Does it look like it's coming for us, or what?
Is it alone?
It looks
DM?
alone.
As far as you can tell, Kiva, scanning the area around it, it seems to be solitary, and you see Esmeralda nodding as well as she glances around the underbrush.
Then let's end this thing. Either it's a spy for him, and we deny him information, or it's a scout for the rest of the pack, and we make sure they don't have a chance of interrupting what we're going to do.
I agree.
Kiva, if you can spot him for us, I think us magical folk can probably light him up before he gets a chance to run.
Copy, yeah. All right. She sort of like sends her little friend that they're not going to fight this time. We're going to leave this to the others, but she is going to try to keep an eye out and try to plot where it might go to maybe we can cut it off, intercept it, type thing.
Okay, so from what you can tell where Kiva's pointing it out, it's kind of stalled its movement in accordance with your momentary pause. It seems to be quite a distance away, and in its current position behind, it has perhaps 3/4 cover. If anyone would like to take a shot at it, you're welcome to. It seems to be just watching from a distance.
Can
When
you
you
give
say-
us quite a distance?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perhaps, within 60 feet or so.
Oh,
Perfect.
okay.
So, yeah, before we do that, Kiva is going to cast Bless on Erthrindir. Because last time with that firebolt, he really fucked some shit up for people.
Remember, you can cast it on three people.
Oh, fuck yeah. So she'll just do it on Amity, Lillison, and Erthrindir. Done.
Is that definitely a big wolf and not a you know what?
Erthrindir looks over at her and kind of shakes his head. I don't know, but either way, I think we gotta kill it. He squeezes her hand.
Grips his hand tightly and nods.
All right. Lillison. Excellent. All right. Erthrindir will, I think, take the first shot as he...
All right, I'll need each of you to make initiative checks for me.
Oh, Erthrindir may or may not make the first shot. $20.
17.
22. Not that I necessarily want to take the first shot. I mean,
You can hold an action, but suffice to
okay.
say that it rolled sufficiently low that all three of you can act before it. It is 60 feet away and has 3/4 cover. Do what you will.
All right. Go for it, Linus.
Would you mind if I actually get into
Sure.
this initiative too?
By all means.
All right, 10.
All right, it'll go before you do. But for now, Amity, what are you doing?
Amity is going to hesitantly, she's going to think about stepping forward, but then just back out and just cast a simple vicious mockery at it. Her voice stammering. Show yourself, you foul beast.
All right, it'll make a saving throw. That is a 20. So I'm afraid that's a success.
Yeah, nothing happens. And everything's fine.
As soon as your words echo with their psychically resonant energy, you see the shape recoil for a moment, glancing toward you, and then even through the distance, you can see broad gray muscles rolling as it prepares to shift its weight away from you. Erthrindir and Lillison, you can act.
All right. Erthrindir, seeing this, is actually, he's going to run to try and draws his sword from his pack and runs to end a dash to try and intercept this thing and stop it from getting anywhere, just out into the woods where we can't deal with anymore.
Okay, so you're running toward it?
Yeah, 60 feet,
Okay.
right?
Yes, but given that this is the forest, there are a few patches of difficult terrain. Also,
Okay, that changes the
Yeah.
occasion somewhat. All right. Actually, yeah. Maybe let the rogue do rogue things. Instead, he's just going to take advantage of the bless and let a firebolt fly.
All right, hit it.
I presume with 3/4 cover, a 10 does not hit, even if it was going to hit anything.
No, it does not. The bolt smashes wide, actually kind of incinerating part of the cover that surrounds it. And at that moment, you can see the great dark form of this dire wolf, jaw dripping with saliva, its amber eyes piercing through the darkness of the wood, locked upon you. And Lilith, you have a split second to act, but you can see it already beginning to jolt away into the darkness.
Earth murmurs to Lillison, you got this, and it's going to give her a die of bardic inspiration. And that's his turn.
Thank you. Unfortunately, that is probably not going to be used by Lillison this turn, as she is going to run towards the wolf, also using her bonus action to dash to get as close as possible. How close can she get?
I'd say you can probably get around 45 feet without using your action to dash.
Okay. She is going to try to skirt nimbly over fallen logs and, around thorn bushes, things like that. And as she does, she raises her hand high above her head and, just balefully staring down this wolf. She is going to cast Infestation.
What?
Nice.
So I'm going to need a con save.
That is a 14.
All right. It has not saved. And will take 2 poison damage.
All right. You can see from this 15-foot distance, so the others cannot truly, as a cloud of what seems like dozens, then hundreds of spiders burst from its flesh and across its skin, biting, crawling, ensconcing it in a cloud of spiraling dark infestation. It yelps and snarls and leaps from side to side, moving to its best to shake them off of its coat and hide. And as soon as it does, you watch as it begins to make a dash for the woodland directly away from you. How much damage does it take?
It takes 2 damage and has to move 5 feet in a random direction first.
All right, it rolls 5 feet. Oh, sorry, I rolled the wrong die. It rolls 5 feet to the west, which is actually toward you, giving it maybe only a 10-foot distance from you as it kind of bucks wildly, fixing its gaze on you and snarling. Is there anything else you can do in your turn?
No, I think I've exhausted all my options.
All right, it meets your gaze for a moment, this massive hulking beast that towers above you. And then it bares its yellowed fangs, snarls quietly, and leaps for the underbrush, vanishing behind a cluster of dark trees. It's moving fast, and before you blink, it's long gone into the woods.
Lillison slows, stops, tries to peer after it, then glances over her shoulder.
It gone?
It's gone. I'm sorry.
No, that one was on all of us. Lord. Well, somebody's got information on us. That's cheering.
I should have done more.
Maybe. But so should I. I just keep thinking to the tree, but can't afford to save all our power. But hey, you did something.
There's
Let's
not
get
exactly.
moving.
There's not exactly much we can do if our opponents keep fleeing like this. It is. I don't think that none of us are exactly specialized in a great burst of upfront combat.
Earthendeer raises his finger like he's about to say something and then kind of shakes himself. Right, yeah, no, probably not. Let's get to the we're burning time. Let's go.
Okay. With that,
so as I was saying about the southern ground hornbill.
All right, and with that, the group of you faces southward once more, hoping that your wolfy friend has abandoned the trail, and begin traveling once more, following the tracks of this great tree creature through the woods. Another 10, 15 minutes pass, and before long, the tree line pulls away, revealing a large clearing in the woods beyond. The trail through the thick woods leads to a hill covered with dead grass and cairns of black rock. Dark, ominous clouds gather high above, and a single bolt of lightning strikes the hilltop. West of the hill, the land, the woods, and the sky vanish behind a towering wall of fog. The trail splits twice as it climbs the hillside, forming twin paths that curve around the hilltop. The central path, however, ascends a staggeringly steep incline all the way to the top of the hill. The monstrous tracks you followed from the winery continue up the hill along the path, all the way to the top, leaving deep gouges in the earth. From here, you see another bolt of lightning strike a stone ring atop the hill, and there's a distant rumble of thunder that shakes the sky miles away.
Well, this doesn't look ominous at all.
Cheery as ever.
Wait, Amdy, your dream. Wasn't there some hill, something like that?
Right, a ringed hill with some columnar jointing, and I forget actually whether the storm was there in the dream. I think it was.
I think it was.
She relays that. Yeah, and yeah, there was a storm. Well, there was also a lot of other stuff, like a big egg at the top. I don't know exactly how much of that was metaphorical.
Let's hope that bit was metaphorical. We don't need a giant bird along with 10-foot tall plant monster. But that is going to be significantly harder to summit than catching this thing out in the woods. Amdy, from your dream, do you remember, was there anything else there besides the egg? Was there anything like that?
There were snakes.
Ooh.
Great.
Which I presume have the traditional metaphorical meaning of snakes.
Right. Do you know what kinds of snakes are poisonous and what kind are good snakes?
Well, if you mix red and yellow together, that means they're venomous. If they're red and black, then you're probably fine, except for a few specific subspecies. Don't get bit by them. If you're within biting radius, gently step away.
Right.
But yeah, alright. So, this hill, Dragna, Earthendeer's going to take a closer look. This path that winds around it, and kind of the ridges in between, can you get a sense for how steep those are?
The sides of the hill are pretty sheer. It's almost like a terraced mound leading toward the very top of this mesa-like hill. You can see at the very top just ring of stone surrounding the peak. You can't see anything really beyond that, but you can see on each level below these what seem to be kind of squinting, maybe mounds of rock, perhaps, along the trails that form concentric circles around different levels of the hillside.
All right.
And as you inspect them, you hear a grunt from the side of the trail, and you turn and you see Esmeralda kind of crouched in the earth just a bit a ways from the road.
What you doing?
Take a look at this. It looks like our wooden friend is not the only one who's been in this area. See? And she points down in a patch of grass, and you see a footprint resembling a barefooted human foot that is left squished in the once wet, now somewhat drier mud. She kind of glances around, leaning on one knee. From what I can tell, there seem to be a few others scattered around, going up and down the area. It's possible if we get up there, we won't be alone.
DM,
damn it.
back at the winery, were the druids we fought, were they wearing shoes?
They were not wearing shoes.
Boy,
Earthenir looks like he's bitten into something sour. That complicates things.
yeah. If there's more of them, they's kind of powerful.
Yeah, I remember. And he kind of scratches at his cheek. Well, don't think we're climbing this thing, or at least not by anything but the road. I don't have actual pythons or anything for climber's gear, and I'm not risking a grappling hook unsecured on a sheer drop. So we got to go around the normal way. That leaves us with some problems, namely that the way the hill's positioned, they'll be able to see us coming if there's any sort of guard post.
They could. I mean, you and Amity can make us go poof and be gone. You know,
Not 8 of us. Most me and her could manage would be, I think, 6, and I think that'd have to be 5. Amity's got to save some magic for what she got this morning. So it wouldn't even be enough to get.
Do you think it would be possible to just turn maybe you invisible, she says, pointing at Metreon, and you, I don't know, go up and yank the gem out of the branches?
I could try that.
Thing is, hold on. There's something that Erthrendir remembers about from a previous nature check. I'm trying to think if it would still be fair for him to remember it, because I believe back at the winery, he figured out that the blights probably can see without eyes. Would he assume the same would apply to this plant creature? Can he try and suss anything out?
I mean, it seems a reasonable conclusion. The plant creatures you've met, the blights that you've met, and if I recall, you rolled pretty high on that blight check.
I did.
So
yeah.
I would say it'd be a reasonable leap to assume that plants do not see with eyes, but some kind of non-visual detection.
Don't think that's going to work. What I remember's from my schoolings, right? I think these things see through other means.
Well, maybe I can do something then. And you see this really pained expression on his face, as if he's trying to recall something pretty traumatic. And as he does, he squints so hard that you see the skin around his cheek and eyes start to crack. And he takes up his hand and peels away the face of himself and the skin. And you see, as he pulls off the rest of his husk, he starts to turn into the druid that he killed back at the winery.
Ugh. That's certainly a plan. Dangerous one. If you get caught out there and they catch on, that's it.
Shall we take your shoes now?
Well, I mean, it already looks like I ain't got shoes on, so we should be fine.
Wait, Metreon, question I never thought I'd have to ask, but what kind of feet do you have?
I have feet with toes.
Okay, no, I just checking.
If this is an illusion that you are wearing and you are actually still wearing shoes or boots, I think the plants will still be able to tell.
I don't want to do this. And you see him reach out, and it's very strange, but you see that, like, as he starts to pull off his first boot, the illusion flakes away like paint peeling off a wall, and he rips off the boot, and the husk reforms back together to form the illusion. And he does it with the other boot as well. All right, but don't lose these. This is my only pay.
Wait, are we actually doing this? Because this seems incredibly risky. Like, if things go wrong, we're not going to be
Well,
able
I'm
to get to
expecting
you in
some of you to
time.
come give me, backup. I'm not doing this on my own.
Right, okay. So you're thinking half of us go invisible and follow you while you go up there and try a con?
Well, here I can scope it out, and then you all just keep within a reasonable distance of me. So in case something happens, you just jump on in and do your thing. And he makes like a stabby motion.
That'll work. We'll need to be.
Do you think there will be more small plant things that will be able to sense us if we are invisible?
Ugh. Decent odds. It didn't seem like those things come from like corrupted plants, and if there was ever a place for corruption, it seems like it would be around, the lair of a big old tree beast. So, that does mean invisibility's kind of shoot. Well, it still seems like a better plan than we've had thus far.
Esmeralda holds up a hand. If you would like, I wouldn't mind taking a peek up there. It's well within the range of my clairvoyance.
Oh, please.
do
Yeah,
that,
no, that is a
yeah.
much better idea. I forgot you had that spell. Please, that saves us a lot of hassle.
You're brilliant. You're beautiful. I love you. Oh, yes.
Well, glad to do what I can to assist. If we want to set up shop and maybe find a bit of a space along the tree line, just out of sight of the main road, and I'll take some time to conjure up the spell.
Yeah, let's make a base camp.
All right, sounds like a plan. Okay, and with that, you make your way a bit of a ways off the main road, finding a small place with a few flat-ish stones that you can kind of sit on and rest on. You see Esmeralda reach into her pack and remove something. It appears to be a small sphere, large enough to fit into the palm of her hand, carved of some kind of black gem or stone. But running through it, you see gold veins, mineral veins running through it that kind of coalesce at one side of it in a circle that almost resembles a pupil. She closes her eyes as she crosses her legs atop one of the larger stones and begins chanting, moving her hands through the air as small spirals of energy and mana linger in the wind behind. And as she continues the spell, a few moments pass, a minute, 2 minutes, 5, and as the 10 minutes of the casting end, she opens her eyes and they glint with a distant reddish tinge as you abruptly realize that she is not looking at you, but somewhere else. And as she opens her mouth to describe what it is that she sees, that is where we will take a break.
Gotta have every time. It's always a cliffhanger. Doesn't matter the context.
But of course.
I respect
And
it.
now we're on like literal cliffs.
Wow.
Beautiful. All right. Well, as expected, we will be picking back up after a quick 15-minute break. This week, we have a fun wrap-up fireside chat, part 2 of Zio's interview with Dungeons and Dinners about the food of Barovia. Promises to be a mouth-watering experience, I hope. Otherwise, as always, we have a few other messages from our D&D community. And once that's done, We will see you back here soon.
Welcome to Fireside Chat, a short interlude with weekly features where I, your host Lucas, will be showcasing and interviewing prominent D&D creators. This week, we are talking to Brett from Dungeons and Dinners about D&D lessons learned from cooking and the food of Barovia. Alright, let's talk Curse of Strahd. Say you're a fairly proficient chef, but sunlight in Barovia is fairly scarce. What kind of agriculture and food in general would native Barovians have access to?
So there's a little bit of a misconception that it's like constant night in Ravenloft, right? Like it's not magical pitch black darkness, it's just dark. So the sun is always obscured in some way, but there's still a day-night cycle. So there's going to be some sunlight that makes it through. It's just not going to be much. It's always going to be low light of some kind, but there's still some sunlight coming through fog or clouds or even some of the magic that's in the area. But some of that is reaching the ground. Now, while you're probably not going to have, your vibrant, lush jungle, you probably will have things that thrive in low light situations. A lot of things that you would think to find in underbrush, things like bushes, berries, maybe some fruiting trees, probably not many, but you would have a lot of root vegetables, things like carrots and potatoes. You'd probably have less of the really sun-thriving foods like corn and wheat, although Barovia is not completely locked away from the rest of the world. Some of these things could be imported, because remember, there's at least one windmill in town after all, and there's a reason that it's there. And berries are going to be really good for wine, so you're going to have wine available. Some other fruit trees could help out, but their growth is probably going to be stunted, their fruits are going to be small, and those are going to be more rare. So plum and apple wine are probably going to be easier to make since it probably takes less of the, you get more juice out of them. And of course, grape wine or any kind of berry wine would be really popular and something that a lot of people would have access to. Standard mead beers, probably less because there's probably not a whole lot of bees if there's not a lot of flowers. And overall, if you think of it like the Underdark, no one starves in the Underdark, right? There's mushrooms and low light foods. All kinds of lichens and mosses and vines are edible and grow pretty well in low light areas. So while there may not be a huge amount of high sunlight things growing, there are going to be some items that are growing lots and lots of the types of vegetation that you would find in a forest if you just took away all the giant trees, right?
How might Barovians use their limited ingredients to cook? What meals might be standard? How does the food differ from, say, a lowly peasant to Vargas Velakovich?
Yeah, certainly. So I did spend some time thinking about this and really trying to put a little bit of pen to paper on what Barovian food might look like for your various different classes. Of course, your lowest class, like your 1 copper piece food at an inn, thinking like the items that are available with as cheap a way as you can find it, you're probably going to be dealing with things like a thin mushroom stew. Maybe pickling is probably going to be really popular because, again, any way to preserve food when there's a limited food supply is always going to be of a high order. So a thin mushroom stew, pickled carrot slices are probably going to be fairly popular, very common. Another way to just deal with a large amount of carrots. And of course, while it doesn't sound obvious, of course, fresh water is probably going to be something that, water could be suspect in a lot of ways in Ravenloft. So ensuring fresh water is probably like a type of drink. You're not going to get anything terribly fancy. Again, since there's no cheap meads, you're probably not going to be getting a beer with your meal if you are in the lowest class. So going up from that a little bit, some things that are going to become popular is while animals are going to be rare in the area, there are still hunting expeditions that come back. There are still some meats that come back. And I'm certain that there's going to be a mentality of like using every part of the animal, right? So with that in mind, things like haggis are going to be in the kind of lower middle area. It's still not the cheapest food, but also we're not getting up really into middle class yet. But a decent haggis with vegetables in it as well, probably boiled potatoes, and like a wild mint tea. Wild mint's probably going to be something that can be scavenged from streams or close to a coast. And same with kind of potatoes. You're not going to get a lot of seasoning here because while a lot of herbs are good in low light, they're still probably pretty rare because people aren't going to be farming as much, and farming herbs on a large scale probably isn't hugely profitable because that space would be more likely reserved for things like the potatoes and the carrots, the heavier starches that are going to get you through. So like a middle class, I would think something like blood sausage. Again, moving into using every part of an animal and having a low amount of meat. You may have things like a blood sausage slice or a few slices with maybe a slice of walnut flour. So again, just because you don't have wheat and corn in the area, there are still a lot of nuts that have enough substance to them to make flours out of, like an almond flour or a walnut flour, and those can still be turned into bread. It'll be a very dense, it won't be light and fluffy, but you could probably get a good walnut flour bread. And of course, back to preserving, preservatives, jams, and jellies are going to be huge. So when you're reaching the middle class, getting access to some of these sweeter treats is where they're going to start kind of being introduced. So walnut flour bread with a wild berry jam, and then back to pickling, let's throw some pickled cherry tomatoes in there. And here's where we can finally start getting to some more decent drinks. Probably a weak coffee would be served with that. Probably something that comes from the second or third brewing of coffee. You're probably not getting a fresh brew because, again, anything that's imported is going to be wildly expensive. But those expensive first and second servings are going to go to upper and upper middle class people, while the leftover coffee rounds that can barely make a coffee, but it has a little color to it, we'll go ahead and reheat it and reserve it until there is nothing left, because you just want to use every part of everything that you are getting, especially if you're spending so much for it. So if we move up a little higher, getting into upper middle class, of course, wolf hunting is something that occurs. And while wolf meat does become available from time to time, again, it's probably going to be more likely to be seen in the hands of the upper middle class, the people that are willing to pay more for it and have more to be able to pay for it. So a roasted wolf shoulder with a wild green slaw and maybe some roasted pecans, and all of this served with like a blueberry moonshine. So again, not really a beer, but I'm sure there's a lot of liquors that are likely to be available. And again, with the slaw, anytime that you have wine, if you have access to the ability to make wine, then you can make vinegar. It's a similar process. It comes out of the same kind of processing. So anywhere where you have winemaking, you're going to have vinegar making, and vinegar making is going to, again, help in that pickling and that preserving of food. So things like coleslaws or vinaigrette-style salads are going to be something you're going to start seeing at this level. And then when we move up to the upper echelon, this is where you can see the upper echelon of probably like civilian life. You're still going to see some local flavors, but you're going to get some of those more imports starting to come in. So I was thinking something like a leg of lamb with an apple chutney and served on a roasted vegetable melody with a port wine. So again, all of these things are still going to be local flavors, but they're going to be more heavily spiced. They may be salted. Instead of doing a salted meat, it'll be a fresh meat with salt, right? And when you move beyond that, like outside of the citizenry, when you get into the real upper echelon, you might as well throw the whole menu out the window, because now you can rely on imports. These are the people that have enough money to afford anything. So if you sit down at a table in Barovia and there's no root vegetables that are being served and lots of pork or bacon, then you might be suspect of who's serving you. A chicken can do pretty well off of bugs and maybe a little bit of grain. They're fairly omnivorous, so chicken is probably a slightly common, but again, not too many animals when there's wolves all over the place. But something like a lamb or sheep is going to be a lot more rare and something that I would be a lot more suspect of having unless I was paying a pretty penny for it.
You mentioned you have a podcast. Where can people find you?
Of course. So Dungeons and Dinners is the podcast. I compare culinary life and culinary styles to Dungeons and Dragons, and I look at one through the lens of the other, and then vice versa. There's episodes on everything from building your campaigns and characters to navigating troublesome players at your table, whether you're a DM or another player, to navigating troublesome kitchens, whether you have a significant other, roommates, or work in a professional setting. Like I said, there's recipes available. On Twitter, I am at @anddinners, where you can find occasional story pieces, memes, as well as some character guides, magical items, and I recently released a full 18-page adventure guide in a collaboration with Maps and Quests that's available for free. That's on my Patreon as well. The Patreon is still kind of small, but it's growing. I've got a lot of great ideas of things that I would like to do. The podcast Dungeons and Dinners is available on all podcast platforms, and there's a direct link that's available on my Twitter at @anddinners as well. Thank you.
If you think your hometown has problems, you haven't spent nearly enough time in the village of Barovia.
Over the years, their taste for human flesh had only grown.
The vampire spawn.
The undead cult, the werewolf den.
I just think we can do a little better here.
Grab our shovels and we're going to add some depth to help you run your best
Curse of Strahd.
Strahd possible. You're welcome.
He flies into a fit of rage that is unparalleled.
There's child abuse galore through this thing. He's been nailed to the wall with very long iron spikes, and I imagine it's been a very uncomfortable time for him.
You see, in tracking a monster, one always needs proper bait.
And welcome back, everyone, to Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. As always, a few quick announcements just to get those out of the way. First off, as always, thank you to everyone watching on Twitch and YouTube, especially to our raiders and everyone else hanging out live. We appreciate you guys, we love you guys, and we hope you are enjoying the stream. Otherwise, as always, thank you to Foundry VTT, our continuing virtual tabletop sponsor for this campaign. Twy, how's Twitch looking?
Hey, listener. Do you ever forget things? I know I do. For instance, I forgot that Earthendeer had Tasha's hideous laughter on his spell list when we were facing down that wolf, which might have made our lives a whole lot easier. And so, if there's something you make sure to remember, it's to subscribe to Twice Bitten D&D on Twitch. We have a lot of wonderful perks, like emotes with the only important characters in the adventure, that is to say, Strahd, Morgantha, and Truffle. And you will be supporting the first, best, and, as far as I'm aware, only show to stick entirely to rules as written, including the one run by Perkins. I'm calling you out. You ended at level 6, my boy. And so yeah, thank you very much. And Serena?
I have to give up trying to follow you with anything remotely more interesting than what you say. So, if you enjoy what you're seeing or listening to, hi podcast people, you can join the discussion on our very own subreddit, reddit.com/r/twicebittendnd, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/rcurseofstrahd, for past sessions, fireside chats, video essays, and highlights from the stream. As always, you can send fan art or questions or just saying hi to our email at twicebittencos@gmail.com.
All right. Thank you very much, Twy and Serena. I think that's all we've got. Just a quick reminder for anyone who has recently joined the stream. As always, you can check out the podcast at anchor.fm/twice-bitten. That's anchor.fm/twice-bitten. Thank you, as always, to Kaya, our brilliant podcast producer, for putting those together.
Oh, thank you.
You can't see, but I'm making like that heart symbol with your fingers. Whatever that is. Anyways. All right. Thank you all. And I think we have gotten through everything we needed to get through. So, getting right back to business. As the group of you stand and sit, both around and upon the ground in the small grove of trees you have found just off the side and out of sight of Yester Hill, Esmeralda closes her eyes and completes the incantation for the spell that she had been casting. As she does, you watch as the black glass eye in her palm begins to glimmer with golden light, and her eyes flicker with scarlet tinges as small red droplets begin to run from the corners of her eyes down across her cheeks, leaving long, bloody streaks. She stiffens, taking in a deep breath, and then slowly exhales. All right, I'm getting a sight on it. It's a bit of a bird's eye view. I thought I might get to look down from close towards the edge of the hill.
What do you see?
Good plan. Yeah, do you see the monster?
It's interesting. The path leads into a stone circle of sorts. Not a small circle, but like some sort of formation. It seems to have been built somehow. The way that it's been structured in a sort of wall, the path runs right through it, across to the other side. There seems to be in this... Oh. And her voice kind of gets a bit quieter. Yes, I think I see it. Or at least I see something. On the western side. I can... And let me actually make a perception check for her. Yes, I can see now the tracks, the great gouges. They continue on through the entrance of the ring and they make their way over to the western side. There's a tree there. A massive dead tree. It's taller than the walls around it by a good amount, and But it's strange. There's, it almost looks like there's a bit of greenish lights that's seeping out of it. I think we might have found what we're looking for.
Do you see anybody else out there? Is it just a tree?
I only see the tree. I mean, the path continues outward. It looks like there's a grove of sorts out of the ring. My God, that's a big tree. But the tracks themselves, they seem to terminate inside the ring. It's possible there might be other things inside, but the levels that I'm looking at is too high up to see anything in greater detail. But I don't see anyone. That doesn't mean they're not there, but I don't see anyone from this perspective.
No, that's good to know. How about, can you see down onto the ridges? Are there folks walking on the paths or anything like that?
From this perspective, not quite. I did not put it high enough. I can
No,
see
that's-
small bits of the second row. But from what I can tell, I don't see anything, but it's very limited. I can barely see most of it beyond the peak.
No, it's fine. Thank you. All right, so it's on the western side of this stone circle. And from what direction is the path entering the circle?
The path enters the circle from the northern side and passes through to the south, where it continues to the grove.
Okay, we might can work with that. That's feasible enough. If there's no immediate sign of any patrols or any people, then it's possible we can ambush this thing, just hit it with a great blitz of magic and arms and kill it before they realize we're here. And by the time they do, we're halfway down the hill again and sprinting for the woods. I think that's our best route, honestly. We draw this thing out, we blast it as much as we can, and by the time it gets to us, it's already half dead, and we beat it up, grab the gem, go.
So you don't want to just maybe try and get the gem first? I mean, save us a bit of energy and time.
If this thing can... He kind of looks very earnestly at Metreon. Are you that good at being sneaky?
I mean, I'm pretty fucking good, but... And
are you
listen,
good enough
I appreciate,
to deal with
I appreciate the concern over my life you have, Randy. I really do. But it's so big.
Yeah. And what I'm thinking is, if that goes wrong and you try and pluck it out and you fail, you're dead. And dead in a position where we might not be able to bring your body back to the abbot. If it, eats you.
Metreon just winces.
It's a good plan, but in this circumstance, I don't want to chance it. But
no, you know what? You're right. I don't know. I was thinking, trying to be all, walking in like that. No, you know what? You're right. And Metreon starts to walk backwards towards the edge of the party.
Hey, we're still going up there.
Oh no! I'll get it. It's thanks for cracking some sense into me. I was forgetting my place.
He kind of looks very uncomfortable at that. No, it's a good plan. Just
no. I'm not being shitty to you. I'm saying thank you for reminding me that I should probably not be doing stupid stuff like that.
He looks vaguely grateful.
Can't you do that lightning thing where you just strike a big fuck off bolt of black lightning on it? Can that help? Just stun it or something?
She chuckles quietly. Perhaps, do you need me to hold on the spell, or should I release it?
Hold on to it for now. I think we're still sussing things out.
I can't see who's asking me the question, but to answer, I think that was Kiva. It does a bit of damage if I can line it up properly. It has a reasonably good range, but it won't stun anything, certainly not that large.
If we run across people on the way there, if it is one person, let me handle it. If it is multiple, and a fight breaks out, I can deal with one, I think.
What will you do to him?
You'll see.
Well, I'm gonna save
Okay.
the blade until it's a last resort. So I think if things look dicey, I'll use it, but I want to try to hide our ace, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, good plan. What I'm thinking is, and it again, feel free to chip in. Don't just let me trample over y'all. But what I'm thinking is, we get up there, we head up, we deal with anybody we can find, non-lethally if possible. And once we're within, say, 80, 100 feet of the tree, those of us that have range, which I believe would be me, Metreon, and maybe Esmeralda, I don't know who else can do that far, blast this thing with as much as we can get. We get its attention, we get it charging towards us, and that lets us get off a good bit of magic, including Amity's plant killing thing. And that way, by the time it gets to the front lines, it's already half dead, and we're not risking getting just rolled over.
Mine is only 30 feet. So
30? Oof, nasty. So we'll need to get fairly close then.
Well, then maybe what if it's what if we use that to draw it out?
It's a plan, but that leaves Amity within tree chomping range without much support.
Well, I mean, she shouldn't go up there alone. You know,
I can go up there with her and be support there.
Yeah, she can go over there.
Earthendeer swallows and looks over at Amity.
I mean, I don't want to cast it, and then if it's not enough, then, well, it just runs and crunches me. But
yeah,
if there's other people, or if there's like something in the way,
I'll just let it nibble on me until you can cast the spell.
if we're doing that, then maybe we should go. Give it multitude of targets. But I still think kind of luring it out and getting it close so we can pepper it a few times before it gets to us is the better route.
Ismark coughs and raises a hand. If you don't mind the intrusion, if nothing else, if we are seeking to attack it and draw it toward us, would we not expect it to approach us? Yes. In that case, then perhaps Amity could strike it before moving in the opposite direction. That way, she would minimize the exposure.
Yeah. Good thought, Ismark. That is kind of the obvious.
Ismark.
Esma, how did you get to see how tall the wall was, or did you have too high of an angle?
If I had to guess, I mean, I don't know, perhaps 5 to 10 feet, maybe 15 in a few places. It was not exceptionally tall.
Are there gaps in it, or is it solid?
Only at the north and south end, where the trail passes through. Otherwise, it's fairly solid. And the way that the lightning keeps hitting it does not make me feel overly comfortable in climbing over it.
Yeah,
There's something strange in the weather
strange.
of this place. The atmosphere is off.
You'd think it would hit the tree. Tallest object and all. All right. In that case, I think we've got our plan. We draw it out with volume of fire from those of us who can. When it starts charging towards us, Amity lets off her beautiful plant killing spell and then get some distance while those of us, people like Kiva and Ez and Ismark, can go in for the kill. Does that sound prudent to everyone?
Yeah, but I mean, is we trying to kill this thing, or is we just trying to get the gem and bolt?
If it's weakened enough that you can grab the gem without getting munched, then by all means.
All right, we'll just play it by ear then.
Yeah, I think that's all we can do.
So can I get my shoes back then if we're not doing this whole thing?
Yes, here's your shoes back.
Thank you. He'll put back on his boots.
Yeah. Also, I can do another round of that magic armor if anyone's feeling like they might want it.
Maybe. I mean, you've got it, and Emily's got it.
Yeah.
I mean, what about Ismark? Esmeralda.
They both shake their heads. Well, Esmeralda does. Esmark looks a bit intrigued, but Esmeralda says, "If it is a spell that I am familiar with, then I would have to take this off." And she kind of pulls a thumb across the collar of her studded leather armor, and you watch as it shimmers a faint arcane green. And she grins. "I think that might be better served going to someone else."
Oh, it's enchanted. Oh, brilliant. That is really cool. All right. In that case, y'all ready?
Ready.
He looks around the circle.
Remember. Sure.
If things go bad, make sure you get the body. That's important.
Right. Well.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. So no other mage armors before you're making your way up?
There were no requests. It is fine.
Okay. With that, the group of you sets off, leaving the small clearing that you had found and returning to the road. You see the path climbing toward the peak of the terraced hill. Set yourselves and begin ascending, following the dirt trail as it curves and meanders its way up the steep slope. You approach the hill and find a place where the path splits for the first time, and you can see here the dirt trails that run along two concentric rings of what seem to be cairns that encircle the hillside. Each cairn a 10-foot-high mound of slimy black rocks. As you continue ascending the hill, passing them behind, the steep slope forcing some of the breath out of you as at times the incline grows uncomfortably sheer. Passing along, you see the jagged cliff face of the sides of the hill sticking out on either side as the path curves and almost serpentine ascends to the second level. Passing by the second concentric ring of cairns, you can now slowly see approaching the crest of the hilltop. Looking behind you, you can see the dark shroud of the forest, whispering slightly in the wind, and before you hear a crack of thunder as a bolt of lightning strikes the very top of the hill. Quietly, moving together as best you can, you ascend the final stretch and find yourselves emerging from the edge of the path onto the top of the hill here, finding what lays beyond. Atop the hill, you find a wide ring of black boulders and smaller rocks that collectively form a makeshift wall, enclosing a field of dead grass. Lightning strikes the edge of the ring from time to time, illuminating an enormous dead tree with gnarled, thorny branches that stretch across the western side of the ring like grasping arms. Even from here, Kiva and Lillison, you can see that green light very faintly seeps through cracks in the bark of the dead tree. Here and there, you see small black scorch marks littering the yellow-brown field, scattered among patches of black, wilted weeds and vines. A flash of lightning sears over top, casting shards of sediment across the way from the stone ring where it sounded. And as it illuminates the way forward, Earthen, you feel something crunch beneath your foot. And looking down, you see, peering up sightlessly from the space below your boot, the edge of what looks like a small, brownish human face, crunched and splintered beneath your weight.
He starts and kind of immediately takes his weight off it, and then kneels down to examine it further.
It resembles nothing more than a mask carved of tree bark, but immaculately formed to perfectly shape the features of a human face. In the space around it, you can see the grass, not scorched, but deeply scored with splatters of dried, reddish stains. The mask itself seems half tinged with a splatter of red along the red cheek, almost like a tear running down the side.
Oh, those bastards.
What is
There's
it?
old magic here. Dark, deep. Not the kind we do. Blood sacrifice. To the land. Or to something else. We need to be careful. He will leave the mask be. And keep moving if others are amenable.
All right. Are you approaching the tree? You can see that it's off to the side of the ring. The path moving past it, staying a good 60, 70 feet away before moving to the southern side of the ring. As she kind of glances around, Esmeralda frowns. This is interesting. I didn't notice before, but there seem to be a few, I don't know if these are graves. She kind of points out a few places where you see mounds of sod and earth and grass that just kind of rise very faintly out of the earth, a few places around the center and edges of the ring.
That is very strange. Any of y'all know what that is?
I mean, is it maybe one of these human sacrifices you was talking about?
Could be. Could very well be, if this stone circle is a ritual site. Center of their magic or something. Just... poor things. Well, I suppose it's time. I guess we should head up to the entrance. Where do you think we should lure it from? The entrance of the circle, you think? That way we've got an easy escape route.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, right.
How wide is the entrance to the circle?
It's around 30-ish feet. It's not an especially narrow choke point.
Well, as good a place as any, I suppose.
From here, you estimate you're maybe around 90 feet away from the tree at the entrance to the circle.
Ooh. Got any thoughts, Lawson?
Assuming that this thing does awaken, which I suppose we don't actually know whether it will, do you think it will want to be lured by us, or rather, will it head in some sort of predetermined direction? What if it just returns to the winery?
In that case, it leaves this way. We saw the tracks coming up. Presumably it has to go down unless it plummets 100 feet. If it does that, then, well, I'd almost prefer a running fight to it actually coming at us. We can peck at it from afar.
She nods. I wonder if it would activate if we simply walked past it. I rather wish to know what might be lurking in that grove beyond, just to be certain that there won't be any other nasty surprises.
He shrugs. Up to you. I'm inclined to say we minimize the time we're here, but if you think it's worth it, I support your logic.
She glances around. What do all of you think?
I'm just trying to get in and out, you know? I mean, is that unreasonable?
No. I think it's a good idea, Lillison, but what we're hoping is by the time any reinforcements get here, this thing's mostly dead.
If we kill the tree without any problems, and it doesn't look like anyone's running after us, then maybe you check it out. But how far is this grove away from this ring of circles? Like, how long would it take a reinforcement to arrive?
It's pretty far. You can see that in the distance on the other side of the stone ring. You can see the trail continuing to the southwestish. There's a large grove of dead-looking trees. You can see a massive one kind of towering over the rest, but it looks to be quite a distance away, perhaps several hundred feet, almost 1,000 feet, maybe a quarter mile.
If we get this thing done fast, then there won't be any time for the reinforcements to come.
If we kill this thing quickly and no reinforcements have arrived by then, that is the absolute best scenario.
I would love that.
Right. But if that is not, in fact, what happens, things can get much, much worse.
I'll spare you an invisibility spell if you want to check it out. Just be careful.
I do, and if, in fact, I can... Well, if anything happens and something breaks out here, I will turn right around and rejoin all of you.
Gotcha. And he murmurs a few words, and a swirl of mist surrounds her body, and she's gone.
Okay, is Lillison proceeding to the southern grove?
Lillison is going to proceed to the southern grove as sneakily as possible.
Okay, are you going around the edge of the circle, or are you going through the center?
I'm going to go around the edge of the circle.
Okay, very fair. If you're trying to go quietly, I suppose you can make a stealth check.
That is a 9.
Invisibility?
Does it grant advantage?
It does against creatures that see by sight.
All right, I'll allow advantage then.
24.
Okay, you trod what you think is exceptionally quietly upon the grass and earth around the edge of the stone circle. The rest of your companions kind of withdrawing around the edges, avoiding sight or detection from the interior. At the south end of the hilltop, as you approach, you see a sickly copse, groves of dead trees and shrubs, with a huge misshapen tree at its core. As you approach, growing ever closer, you can see of the largest tree, this massive misshapen structure at the very center of the grove, blood oozes like sap from its twisted trunk. You can see skulking around the tree 6 gangly humanoid creatures covered with needles, and embedded in the tree is a shiny battle axe, beneath which lies a humanoid skeleton. You recognize the humanoid needle creatures as needle blights from the winery. I presume you don't go close enough. I'm presuming you're keeping your distance from them, but you would notice them. Yeah, let me check something very quickly. You watch as actually 2 of them seem to kind of just scan the area and fix their gazes on you for a moment, just by sheer chance. But their gazes, after you like kind of take a breath and stiffen, reflexively preparing yourself for attack, their gazes slide off from you. You get the sense that you were noticed, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of interest there, at least for now.
Interesting. How far away are they from me right now?
Around 50 feet.
How
You're
far
at the
away?
outskirts of the grove.
How far away is that battle axe?
around, I don't know, 65 feet or so. I mean, they're not making like a huge wall. They're just kind of skulking in the immediate vicinity of the tree.
Wilson is going to very, very closely, very, very quietly and cautiously edge about 5 feet closer.
All right. They don't seem to react in a hostile manner.
Guys, I'm about to do something very, very stupid.
Do it. Do
Do
We
it.
can't stop you.
All right. What stupid thing is Lillison doing? By all means.
Forgetting entirely that this is going to, destroy the invisibility until she's already halfway through the motions. Lillison is casting Distant Mage Hand.
A quick note, just because Lillison has reasonable high intelligence, is she doing this to dislodge the battle axe? What is her purpose with the
Yes.
Mage Hand? Lillison would know that Mage Hand can exert only 10 pounds of force, and the battle axe looks to be reasonably embedded in the tree.
Okay. It is not like just kind of hanging out there.
No, it looks pretty solidly just funked in there. If you want to pull it out, you're going to have to do it by hand.
Lillison turns and starts walking back towards the group.
All right. It's only a few minutes' time before you return. Kiva, you look up as you hear the crunch of footsteps approaching.
What'd you see?
6 of those needle creatures. I think they might have noticed me briefly, but they did not seem terribly interested. And a shining battle axe, even though whoever used to hold it is already a skeleton, it was still rather shiny.
But no druids, right?
Not that I could see.
Excellent.
Axes are notably good against trees.
Ah. And if it's still shiny after being exposed to the elements, that's usually a good sign for certain properties.
Wait, when you said shiny, did you mean like glowing, like magic? Or did you mean just like, oh, it's nice and silver?
It was just still in very good condition. But
Oh, never mind.
It did seem rather deeply embedded into the tree, though. Also, did I mention the tree was bleeding?
Oh, I did kind of skim over that bit. That's worrying. Maybe we don't mess with it then. I don't really want to. Would Earthendeer know anything about trees that bleed?
You may make an Arcana or Nature check, your choice.
I may make a 20.
You've heard of one particular tree that bleeds. A Gulthias tree. Trees of rot and corruption that sprout in places where the earth is tainted with deep corruption. Often, but not always, of blood. It is these trees that can often spread roots deep through the land and the area around them, giving life to blight and crawling things, dark creatures of hate. The trees themselves are not capable of locomotion as such, but their offspring tend to be cruel, predatory even at times. And with a sinking feeling, you get the sense that you've already encountered this tree's offspring on at least one notable time.
That thing. That's a. There aren't supposed to be duplicates of those. There was only ever the one.
One what? What are you talking about?
It's called a Gulthias tree. They. You know those plant creatures we fought back at the winery? In places where there's a lot of death and magical corruption. Stuff like this can happen. And that tree makes the blights literally, creatures that subside on blood instead of chlorophyll. It's the source of those.
So it's like Big Mama Blight.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Although I'm not sure where it puts this big animate tree monster in the sort of family tree of blights. A son, husband,
Baby daddy.
I don't really want. Yeah.
What about that staff that we broke back at the winery? Do you think that has something to do with this as well?
Does the tree look like... you saw it up close. Did it look like similar material?
Well, I didn't see it all that close, but it was dark and was bleeding.
And the staff bled too, so...
It did. Probably similar. We don't need to mess with that. Those are bad business.
But if breaking the staff made all the other plants go away, would breaking this one make just all the plants go away?
That's what I'm thinking, perhaps.
It might. I don't necessarily want to mess with it. I don't really think we can...
So we got one goal here, to get that gem, right?
Yeah.
So let's just go get the fucking gem. I don't want to deal with having to kill other bleeding mummy trees and blights and all that. Let's focus. One thing at a time.
All right, well, at least we know that there are at least 6 reinforcements that might come from that direction.
Aye, and well scouted. If it turns out we can't kill this thing and we need to come back on another pass, then we could try and poison it or something.
Do you think that would work?
It might. It's possible. It's nasty business, but you can do it.
Slow nod.
Well then. Are you ready? All right. Anyone who can hit the tree from 90 feet or beyond with me. The rest, get ready. Any steps?
Esmeralda and Ismark step forward. Esmeralda drawing forth what you've seen her wield before, a small dark wooden wand as Ismark reaches across his shoulder and pulls out his heavy crossbow and loads it with a bolt.
Metreon, you've got something, don't you?
What you mean? Oh, you mean... And he wiggles through his disguise and pulls out the hand crossbow. You mean this?
No, I meant any kind of coughs meaningfully last night.
Oh. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to. I'm not saying you should draw upon
No.
magic.
I mean, if it works, it works. I just, it's a tricky thing to get in touch with. But
well, the good news is you have essentially an unmoving target.
All right, well, I'll give it a go. I'll just try to think about how irritating this place is and hope for the best.
Yeah. Yeah, Earthendeer will step forward alongside Esmeralda and Ismark and raise his wand. Count of 3. 1.
They both nod.
2. 3. And Earthendeer lets out a firebolt.
And
okay.
Metreon focuses, as he's counting down, on that anger that he felt last night towards the wolf, and the eldritch energy starts to crackle in his hand, and he'll shoot out a couple eldritch blasts.
All right. Ismark will fire a heavy bolt from the crossbow he carries, and Esmeralda twists the one through the air and then fires a bar of searing black lightning through the air that crackles with white light directly toward the tree.
Does a 12 hit?
Do we have advantage or?
I would say, actually, yes. If you are making an attack roll, you would have advantage here.
Oh, I'll take that. 25.
I will leave the 9. It happens.
Oh, I thought I rolled damage. Hold on. Sorry. It's going to be 8 plus 4, so 12 damage on the first one, and then is this a second bolt? Would my second bolt have a advantage as well because it's part of the same spell attack?
If it's part of the same attack, then yes.
All right, so it's a 16 on the second one.
All right. The first one was what?
First one was 25.
Oh wait, they're 3 separate attacks.
Well, so it's the same spell, but I get 2 bolts.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, makes sense. All right, yes. So what was the first one to hit? The second one's 16. That hits.
Okay, so the damage on the first one is 12, and then the second one is 9 points of force damage on both.
Okay. And Northern, what did you roll?
9 and a 7. Not happening.
Gotcha. And so 12 force from Metreon.
Plus 9.
21 force from Metreon.
Oh, 21. Jesus, okay. Meanwhile, Ismark takes a shot, but it splinters into that through the tree's branches, and he curses and immediately moves to reload, whereas Esmeralda's bolt of lightning sears through the air and smashes directly into the center, dealing 27 points of lightning damage. As soon as it impacts, you notice 2 things. First, the tree rears back physically, almost as though it's a figure being struck and not a natural plant being injured. You watch as slowly the tree rears back, its great canopy of dead, gnarled branches pulling back, and then you watch as slowly the roots begin to pull from the ground, ripping up the earth for 10, 15, 20 feet around it, its massive branches swaying. You watch as there is a low rumble through the air, and then slowly that mounts into a crescendoing growl, into a roar, as the front portion of the tree splits open into a dark, gaping maw. Great splinter-like teeth on either vertical side of it, the entire area around it smeared red like blood. You see the green light bursting from within it, and as it roars, echoing through the ring, you watch as the graves that Esmeralda had noticed begin to shift and turn, almost as though there's something beneath them. And with that, I will need everyone to roll initiative.
Yeah.
Heck yes.
You may reposition yourselves as needed.
Oh, that's a 6.
That's a 6.
That's an 11.
10.
5.
Jesus.
Yeah, we rolled like ass on
Amity,
this.
did you roll in the encounter tracker?
Oh, did that get added? I do not see an encounter tracker.
It did, yes.
I'll just add it for you. Okay then, so with that, as the massive tree blight roars, its sound of rage and not pain so much as hunger echoes through the ring. You watch as the graves that Esmeralda had pointed out in several places begin to bubble and roil as though there's something living beneath it, almost as though fighting through the earth to be born. And as you watch, you see several figures. First one, and then another on the opposite side, then a third, then 6 figures all together. covered in bluish gray mud, beginning to pull themselves out from the earth beneath where these graves lie. You watch as they reach up behind them and begin pulling out objects, weapons, you see. And as one of them approaches, you see a tall, broad-shouldered man, long tangled hair and wild-looking eyes, bearing in his hands a massive battle axe covered in rust and flecks of mud, as he lets out a wordless bellow and charges toward you. So, you watch as 6 of these warriors emerge from the earth. Unfortunately for them, they do have to spend some of their movement getting up from prone. So, please excuse me while I move everyone around. And I think I'm missing one. Ah, here we go. All right, and they begin making their way, rushing their way toward the edge of the circle. That is the end of their turns. Irina will take her turn next, as she takes up a position just alongside Erthrindir. Actually, she'll glance toward. She'll glance at the others and say, "So, what's the plan?"
Don't die.
Yeah, I think that's a good start. Don't die.
Yeah. Keep these guys away while we do as much damage to the tree as we can. If we've got to fight them, we've got to fight them, but they're not what we're here for.
She nods. Right, got it. And she takes up a position just next to you and raises her rapier. She will ready an attack for anything that approaches. With that is the end of her turn. And you watch as the tree, still roaring and snarling, glancing around wildly with its massive gaping maw, almost as though unsure from the direction that whence its injury came. And then it fixates on your direction, roughly, just a bit of a ways off, and you get the sense this thing is at least somewhat blind, but not blind enough to completely ignore the direction from which its injury came. Pulling its roots out of the ground, sending earth flying in more than a dozen feet around it in every direction, it begins to roll across the ground in this terrible spider-like, almost centipede-like motion with hundreds and hundreds of roots spilling its way forward as this massive arboreal mass thuds across the ground toward you. As it approaches one of the warriors before it, it towers far above it, a full 2 stories, 3 stories taller. And as you watch its canopy whirling and squirming around it, you feel this dark, sinking terror in your heart as once it grows close enough to the edge of the circle, it affixes its gaze directly upon you and lets out another ear-splitting roar that splits the day. That is the end of its turn as it dashes. Metreon, you're up.
Woo! Okay. How far away is this big old boy? 40 feet. You know what, actually? Just because this is such a surprising thing to see, not only this tree, but these berserkers. So I've never done this, Dragnus, so you get to have fun describing it. But you just see Metreon cry out, "Oh shit!" And he's going to go ahead and cast Mirror Image.
Okay. You watch as Metreon's form becomes sunken, almost skeletal, and in that moment, as you look across at him, Erethrundir and Amity, you see his form almost resemble that of the entity you saw at the seance that morning, but his features are still his own, but sunken and almost dead in appearance. And around him, shimmering, his form splits like fog or mist flowing off of his form. And with that, you see 5 Metreons standing around one another, shimmering, almost like they're not quite real, but each of them moving in perfect sync with the others.
And I will. Is there anywhere I could like reasonably hide around here? I guess I could hide behind the wall. You know what? No, I'll just stay here for right now. Yeah, that's my turn.
Gotcha. Thanks. Sorry, I might have got the numbers wrong. Is that 3
I think
duplicates?
it's
or 4
3.
duplicates?
It's 3. It's
It's
actually.
3.
Gotcha. Okay, so 4 Metreons. Sorry, thank you. Okay, that is Metreon's turn. Kiva, you're up. You see this tree rushing toward you, these warriors charging and screaming guttural battle cries. What would you like to do?
Oh boy. So give me 1 second here. Okay. How many of these guys count as fiends, or do none of them? Like, what's the breakdown?
So, what are you doing? I notice you seem to be charging directly toward the tree.
If I was
Is that what
to
you're doing?
try, say, to turn the unholy,
I would say you get
is
it.
that something that is reasonable?
I would say that looking over these, before you make this decision, if you'd like, you get the sense that none of these appear to be undead or fiends. The figures look horrifying, but as they grow closer, they seem to be humanoid. And the tree itself, though it certainly looks monstrous, it does not look undead or demonic in any specific way.
Well, fuck that. That was the whole brilliant genius plan.
If you'd like to rewind, you can.
Honestly, I don't know that I would like to rewind. I feel like she would just try to go up in there because she's stupid.
Okay.
So I feel like she's gonna do that, and then she's gonna bonus action rage and see what she gets on her fun wild magic table.
As soon as you run out, Esmeralda says, "Kiva, wait!" And then she slaps her forehead. God damn it.
She's very dumb. I don't.
All good. So what are you doing?
Sorry, I'm just trying to find the fucking D8.
All good.
All right, that's a 5. Let me check my nifty table. I'm so sorry. There's so many things to do.
All good. If you don't mind, since you have the same initiative while you're going, Esmeralda will rush up behind you. God damn it! And she'll take out her rapier and hand axe and begin spinning, swirling to strike at one of the figures beside her. Are you trying to get yourself killed? She'll make 2 rapier attacks and 1 hand axe.
Yeah, so there's not a visible change with Kiva's roll on her thing, but she is going to I guess ready her action will be to ready an attack for whenever one comes in range.
Okay, and Esmeralda deals 14 damage plus a crit, so a total of 22. And that is the end of her turn. What is Kiva doing?
She's just readying her attack for whenever one gets within swinging range of the mace, preferably the tree.
Okay, very good. That is the end of your turn. Esmeralda's turn is up. Ismark will take his turn. He glances back at Arena. Stay here. And he will bring his longsword up, draw his short sword, and rush toward the warrior that Esmeralda just attacked. He will attack with his longsword twice and his short sword once, his silvered short sword. First one misses, but the other 2 hit. That is a 22 and a 19, dealing 9 points total. All right, Ismark cuts and slashes across the way, him and Esmeralda echoing each other's movements. The warrior staggering back as he exhales hard. Earthendeer, you're up.
All right. Earthendeer looks over at the charging giant tree, the two berserkers, and the wall of his friends in the way, then at the people charging straight towards him, and decides he should probably deal with that. As he runs over to by the circle of stones and raises his wand. Stay away from us! As he's going to cast fear at these two lovely bastards. Right in front of him.
That's going to be
So they need to make
wisdom
whiz saves. Yeah.
That is a natural 1 and a natural 20.
Well, the 20 passes, obviously, but the 1 needs to get as far away from him as possible until he can't see him anymore. Then he gets to start making whiz saves.
All right. Does it need to use its reaction for this? No, right?
No, just on its next turn.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. Is that Earthendeer's turn?
Can he tell which one got feared?
The one close to you. Does it? That's the drop what it's holding, right?
It does, yes.
Yes. This appears to be a tall, like rather broad-shouldered woman, and she immediately takes a step back, faltering, her eyes going wide, as though she's seen a ghost, dropping her battle axe to the ground.
Get out of here. And he's just going to step forward a bit as if to punctuate the point, and that is all.
All right, Lillison, you're up.
Okay, Lillison is going to glance over to Kiva and say, Which one? Which one are you going for?
The fucking tree, I think.
All right.
So what's Lillison doing?
Lillison is scooching up, and she is going to fix her gaze on the tree and say to Kiva, When you go for it, do you see that cleft between the two roots right there? Go for that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That is her bonus action to preemptively use the help action.
Work.
And as her action, has the one that Ez and Ismark are attacking, was that the top right one?
It's the one between Ismark and Esmeralda.
Okay, and the other one between that one and the tree is unharmed?
Correct.
All right. Lillison nods firmly in Kiva's direction, and then she's going to turn her attention on that unharmed one. And she is going to cast Subtle Crown of Madness.
Okay, what does that do?
Jesus H. Christ.
That is going to require a whiz save, is what that is going to do.
That is a failure.
All right. Well, I'm not sure how much of this comes across because she's doing it subtly, but...
Well, certainly as you watch, the warrior suddenly goes still for a moment, and you watch as appearing around its head. It's difficult to tell the gender at this distance, especially given the mud that still clings to the form. A twisted crown of jagged, splintered bone forming around the crest of its scalp like a halo. And Kiva, you can clearly see from here a dark madness glowing in the figure's eyes. It immediately turns toward its companion, begins raising its axe from behind, though not from a perspective that its companion can see.
And that is Lillison's turn.
Okay, let me mark that off. Okay, with that is Lillison's turn. Amity, you are up. You see Kiva, Ismark, and Esmeralda in the thick of things, Lillison behind them, Earthendeer heading off, two berserkers. And you were back with Metron and Irina as this massive tree blight slowly but surely storms toward your friends. What are you doing?
All right, well, Amity strategically walks forward and then yells out to these wild folk, We just want the gem. Please, just run away before you die. And she is going to cast Shatter, since not close enough to do Blight yet. Hitting this tree and these two druids. They each have to make Constitution saving throws, and Amity is sort of averting her eyes, in case this happens to kill him. She doesn't want to see the moment.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just so you know, you can walk forward toward the tree if you want to.
I know, and like,
okay, just wanted to
it's
check.
coming. It's coming.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so Shatter works. So this will be on the Berserker with the Crown and on the Tree Blight. That is a 17 and a 22.
Oof.
Well, that is a bunch of successes. Sorry, there's 3, right? There's 2 druids caught in this? Or am I misunderstanding?
Due to the way that you placed the spell, you're only hitting 2 creatures with this. You see that one of the squares is not outlined.
Oh well. They take 6 damage.
If you want, you can move it up a square, and it should hit.
If there's a way to hit all 3 of them, that would be cool.
Yes, you can do that. Let me roll for one more.
Cool.
That's another 20. So all of them take half damage, I presume.
Which is 6 damage.
Okay, there's a thunderous crack of air as Amity's spell explodes, sending shards of earth and rock everywhere, the tree barely stumbling, but the warriors doing their best to kind of bring their shoulders and hide armor up, evading the worst of the blow, but still taking some damage.
All right, and finally, Amity will walk up just enough so that she can shout, "Kiva, you got this. Please just stay safe." She'll give her a bardic inspiration. And
lovely.
That is the turn.
Okay, very good. With that, as Amity's turn ends, you watch as, scanning over the area, you notice with a jolt of horror going down your spine that not all of the graves that were moving have yet erupted. But now, from several corners around you, you watch as 6 other of the buried graves have their inhabitants emerge. As 6 additional figures, clad in bluish gray earth, covered with long tangled hair that in some cases goes down to their feet, burst free from the soil. All of them, you notice, not carrying axes, but as they approach, long, gnarled staffs that glimmer with grayish black energy. So, several of them will move toward you. Okay, so you watch as one of them, actually no, several of them. Let me just check the distance on this and the distance of this spell. Well, that's fun. You watch as toward the rear, 3 of them lift their staffs toward you. And bursting forth from the earth, you see suddenly black, grasping vines and roots that sprout from the earth, dripping with blood like the trunk of the Gulthias tree that seek to push up through the earth and ensnare your ankles and arms. So let me just place these templates real quick. I believe it's 20 by 20. Let me check. Yes, it is. Okay. Okay, so I will need Kiva to make 2 strength saving throws, Lillison to make 3, and Earthendir to make 1.
Great!
Strength.
My best stat.
It's a 15 and a 16 from me.
3, 12, and 9.
Somehow a
Okay.
16.
And Esmeralda and Ismark. Esmeralda succeeds the first one, fails the second one. Ismark succeeds both of them. So Lillison with a 9, Earthrendeer with a whatever, you succeeded, and Kiva with a 15-16. Okay, so Esmeralda and Lillison each give jolted shouts of surprise as the roots kind of push up around them, grasping their legs and parts of their arms and torsos. The two of you are restrained.
Oh, that's not
I'm going to
ideal.
just add that on.
That does not interrupt concentration?
It does not. You did not take any damage. However,
Excellent.
you watch as the other 3 druids who have emerged hold up their staves that then glow with a glaring greenish-black flame that starts at the top and then runs down the length of it, searing with flickering magical tongues of fire. Somehow they don't burn the druids, but the druids hold them up like familiar with the use of these weapons and continue moving forward. And that is the end of the druids' turns. With that, it is their friends' turns. So,
Oh wait, if one
Lillison.
of them is in range of me, I was holding my.
Yes,
Can I do that?
one of them is entering in your range, so you do get an attack here.
Yay! That's a 20 to hit.
20 will certainly hit. Roll damage.
7 damage.
All right, you bring the mace flashing overhead and bring it smashing down. You also get bonus damage because you're raging, right? And what was the effect for that? Did we ever roll it?
So yeah, it is. It only happens when I take damage.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
I'm waiting to take some damage. I don't know if it counted it in. I don't know what that is.
It
That-
didn't.
I didn't
Anyway,
mean to
It
do
should be
that.
9 damage.
Oh,
9 damage? Okay. All right, you bring
Thank
the
you
mace
for everyone
slashing through the
teaching
air,
us I did
smashing across the side of the druid is approaching you, who lets out a grunt of air and snarls at the impact.
So, you have invaded the Dark One's blessed shrine? You dare raise arms against us, the guardians of this place?
Anything from Kiva?
She's just going to say, "Oh, shut the fuck up."
The figure bares teeth, yellowed and in places reddish like blood.
You have sought too much this day. Winter Splinter has risen, and Winter Splinter will feed well today.
There's another great bellow from the tree. And with that, the Berserkers will take their turn. Lillison, I believe you had something going on with one of these, correct?
Yes, I do. The one that Ez and Ismark had attacked, how healthy does that one look?
Not doing great. I would say, bloodied. There's a few injuries in there and seems to be faltering, stumbling.
Okay, I believe that the two of them can take care of him. I'm going to have my little friend turn around and chop at the tree.
Okay. Is this an unarmed strike or just a regular weapon attack?
What are my options here?
I mean, it's...
Does he have...
It just
does-
makes its
well,
normal attack.
Yeah,
Okay,
like,
so
do
it's
they
normal
have
attack?
weapons? Yeah.
Yes, he is carrying a great axe.
Oh, yes, axe in tree.
Beautiful. All right, he brings it chopping forward and slams it across the side. And actually, let me check something. I just want to check to see if Crown of Madness would have this impact. Huh. Interesting. Okay, I would say that it probably isn't going to use one of its features here, but it does hit with a 19, dealing 12 points of slashing damage. It cleaves through several of the lower branches that have been lowering toward the ground. The tree rearing back and roaring, and it fixing its gaze on this one now, as well as your companions. All right, and with that, one of the warriors, the one that had been feared by Earthendir, will scramble away. Using dash action to do so. And the others will make their way forward.
This is fine.
We're doing
Okay,
great.
just making sure I have everything. Okay, so I think that only 2 of them can attack this turn because the others had to dash. So one of them will attack Earthendir, and one of them will attack Esmeralda because she's tied up at the moment. Both of them doing so with advantage because they have the Reckless feature.
Great.
Berserkers!
All right, one of them brings its axe smashing down toward Esmeralda, rolling a 17. Esmeralda grunts and throws up a hand as she casts Shield, that swirling defense mechanism of conjured bone that deflect the attack, shimmering in the air. The Berserker grunts in frustration. Meanwhile, the other one, bringing its axe toward Earthendir, bellows, "Slay the outsiders! Spill the blood so that Winter Splinter may drink!" That is a 13 to hit.
No. He steps aside.
You nimbly dodge out of the way as the axe spills through the air and smashes right in the air, in the ground, embedding itself in the earth. The warrior snarls at you, bearing muddy, greasy teeth before tugging it free. That is the end of their turn. Irina is up. She'll glance toward each of you and then bare her teeth and roll up one of her sleeves and leap forward, just toward Ismark's side. Bring the rapier forward, she will slash toward the wounded berserker beside him. That is a 19 to hit, but she actually does have advantage because of the Reckless. Still hits, 7 points of damage. She jabs him right in the side, and he hisses, spilling backward and clutching the side of his torso where her blow hit. With that is the end of Irina's turn, and the Blight begins its turn. It rears back, giving this terrible, shrieking screech that rumbles with the crescendo of its roar, and as you watch, all around you, suddenly ripping forth from the earth. Let me just make sure I got this right. Kiva and the berserker that attacked it. You watch as the roots rip forward and tear through the air, attacking toward each of you.
Bring it on.
NPC tag.
All right, so the first one against the berserker is a 22, which hits, dealing 11 points of damage and grappling the poor sucker. I'm not sure which thing to use for this, so I will just arbitrarily pick this icon. And for Kiva, that is a 23 to hit.
Yeah, that hits. I'd say that hits.
All right, you suffer 12 points of bludgeoning damage, and you... Actually, no, not immediately. It'll happen later on the start of your turn, so remind me. But you are grappled as the root entwines around your leg and kind of yanks around you.
So as he hits me, he, arbitrarily assigning gender to Winter Splinter, as the tree hits me, it takes 1 force damage as this, like, thing comes at me, and it just, like, this fucking power wave comes off of me, just, like, returning the damage in some capacity to them.
Okay. That is that. That's the first part of its multi-attack. It then reels in the berserker that it had in its place. It will make 2 attacks with its branches toward Kiva. That is a 16 to hit and a 16 to hit.
Those both hit.
All right, that is 22 bludgeoning damage plus 15 bludgeoning damage for a total of 37.
What is that in half?
19, I want to say.
Okay, great.
All right, it slams you like this a certain whomping arboreal plant from another piece of fiction that I shall not name for copyright reasons, slamming with one of its branches. At the same time, it pulls up the berserker that Lillison had charmed and pulls it up close to its mouth. And then you watch as the great maw pulls open, and you see these reddish stains around it. And at that moment, you realize, yeah, that's definitely blood. And then it chomps right down on this poor... you see now that the figure appears to be a woman, and she screams as it slashes right through part of her upper thigh with its bite.
Oh,
that's going to
sad.
be. Fortunately, an 11 to hit as this berserker whirls and kind of slams the great axe in place just long enough to stop the jaws from closing around it. Half of the blade pushing up into the upper jaw, the other half stopping it, groaning and grunting with the exertion of stopping this thing from chowing down. The blade snarls in frustration at being denied its meal. Metreon, you're up.
Oh boy. So seeing Kiva wrapped up in Winter Splinter, and do I see the glow of the gem from here?
You cannot see a gem, but you do see green light seeping through the cracks and from the maw of the tree blight.
Metron knows this is a stupid idea, but he's going to do it anyway. And him and his duplicates are going to go ahead and move and bonus action dash.
Okay.
Here.
Oh,
and
okay.
Go...
Just so you do that, how are you doing that? Because there are two creatures there that would like to make attacks of opportunity on you if you do that.
Why? I wasn't engaged with them.
If you pass by Lillison, I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. I mean, if you dash, you can get here without triggering any AOs.
Yeah, I'll do that. And,
okay, but you have to use your action as well.
Why?
Because the only way to do that is to take a long right angle to avoid crossing the druid's path with the berserker's path, which takes you out of your way. You cannot get here by taking just the shortest possible route, because that leads you by like 4 different enemies. Unless you want to trigger their attacks.
Are you being a rogue and disengaging?
No, because I'm using my bonus action to dash. You know, I've got my mirror images up. Fuck it, I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right. So you're using your action and your bonus action to dash to get here.
No, I'm using my movement and my bonus action. I would like to keep my action because I want to attack the tree.
You cannot do that because, again, you have to... Let me show you the path you have to take. You cannot, because you would pass by, like, multiple...
He said he was okay with the opportunity attacks.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
I've got my mirror image.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so 3 of them... yeah.
All right, let me roll some d20s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you do it before they roll? Or you do it before they attack? Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Well, it's only if they targeting you with an attack, roll the d20. So yeah.
Yeah, so 3 of them target you with attacks.
All right, so that's a 15, a 10, and a 19. Now the spell.
Well, you have to see if it beats the AC of the images, which is 10 plus your
dex. So it's a 12 AC.
Yes. So, which ones hit the images?
Theoretically,
first we
all
have to
of them,
see. Yeah, first we have to see which ones hit at all.
You have to see if they're destroyed.
Okay. So
this is a fun spell.
they are the attacks to hit are 7, 23, and 18.
So the first one misses, and the other 2 hit. So
yeah, but they do hit images, so that's 2 images gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, 2 of the images poof out, leaving only 2 Metreons behind. And you now stand at the southern side of the tree blight with your action still available to you.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to take out my dagger and start to try and cut through some of these branches. But as I do, I get to debut something else for you, Dragna, to describe.
Oh.
But I'm going to, as I do it, cast Booming Blade.
Yeah.
Okay. The 2 Metreons pull out their daggers and cast the spell.
Damn, it's only a 7.
7. Unfortunate. Actually, I'm very sorry to rewind this, but let me check something real quick. I apologize for my terrible rules today. Yes, so you would not be able to get to that angle. You would because the area that is green on the map is all difficult terrain. I apologize for not clarifying. Those roots and vines are still there.
Yeah. So in that, can I just roll that back then?
Yes, I apologize. That was entirely my bad.
I'm gonna stay over here, and I'm just gonna blast it with some Eldritch Blasts.
Okay, very fair. All right, go for it. I'll say that first attack you made is one of your Eldritch Blasts, just for fairness, if that's all right.
Well, I guess I shit the bed on both because it was a 7 and an 8. So,
gotcha.
That's my turn.
Okay. Unfortunately, the two of them go wide. All right, Kiva, you are grappled by one of this tree's roots, and it's looking like it's about to try to take a bite out of you. Meanwhile, you have a warrior and a druid to your south, and the party is getting pretty heated. What are you doing?
Can I use a weapon when I'm grappled, rules man?
You certainly may.
Fuck yeah. All right. I guess I'm gonna reckless this guy right in front of me with my mace.
Gotcha. You're hitting the one of the berserker or the druid?
Yeah, I guess which one looks healthier?
The berserker is not taking any damage. The druid is looking pretty hurt.
All right, let's finish off the druid.
Okay, go for it.
That's a 23.
A 23 will certainly hit.
It's a measly 6 damage, though.
All right, that's very, very
6.
respectable. You smash him in the side. He goes stumbling backward.
And then, is breaking a grapple bonus action or an action to try to do that?
That is an action.
It's an action.
Fuck me running. Okay, well, fine. I just won't do anything then. She'll just scream because she's getting crushed by a tree. Yeah, that's her turn. Thanks, y'all.
All right, Esmeralda is up. She is restrained and not feeling very happy right now.
Is she gonna curse the tree?
She doesn't know what's coming, so she is not currently focused on that. She's focused on being restrained in the ground, and there's a tree approaching her.
Okay.
She is going to... She'll glance toward the druids to the south and just curse and say, "Shit, if we get out of here now, I have no doubts they'll just cast it again." She'll shake her head and then pull out her wand. And she will fire another bolt of lightning directly toward the tree blight from her current position. The tree fails as another bolt spears through the air, smashing across its side, the tree roaring as it takes 23 points of lightning damage. Okay, that is the end of Esmeralda's turn. Ismark is up. He will move forward and he will attack this berserker. That is a 21 and a 14 to hit, both hitting, dealing a total of 17 damage. That is the end of his turn. The berserker's still up. These are hardy things. Erthrendir, you have 2 dudes next to you and a third one approaching. What are you doing?
I know. It's a problem. So his eyes are just flickering around the battlefield to Winter Splinter roaring, to the magic being cast. He is not happy with this state of affairs. And with another, desperate gesture, he drops concentration on the first fear and casts another one at the 3 right in front of him, trying to just get them away.
Okay. That is a 13, a 20, and a 6.
The 13 and the 6 fail. Which ones are those?
That is the top left and the bottom right.
Okay. Yeah, no, in that case, he's... Yeah, I think that's his turn.
Okay, very good. That is the end of Earthrendir's turn. Lillison, you're up.
Lillison is going to also glance wildly around and see who looks intent on actually, hitting something with a weapon attack. How is Ez looking?
Ez is looking hale and hearty, but restrained by the roots and vines around her.
Okay. Difficult. She is going to call out to Irina and say, Irina, be careful, but if you can, there's a spot right under his arm. And she's going to use the help action in Irina's quest to take down the berserker in front of her.
All right, Irina shoots you a glance and a nod.
Otherwise, just going to use the action to maintain concentration on the maddened berserker.
Okay, Amity, you're up.
Okay, Amity will take a deep breath, walk forward to within range, raise her hand, pointed at the tree blight, and say, Kazan.
All right, and
it has to make a Constitution saving throw.
All right.
And it makes the saving throw with disadvantage.
Beautiful.
Come on.
A 10 and an 8.
Yeah, that's what we like to see.
Let me just roll damage. Oops,
Yes,
it looks like I don't
please.
have to roll. It takes 64 necrotic damage. Oh no, 64 necrotic damage. Fun.
How does Amity want to do this?
Oh.
Yes!
As Amity says, Kazan, liquid starts to seep out, like the same blood I assume that was in the Gulthias tree, just sort of seeps out of this, like someone's squeezing it with a hand like a sponge. It just seeps down into the ground like a puddle until this tree is just dry and blackening branches, at which point it just collapses like a pile of pickup sticks behind these druids, leaving the wine gem shining in the wake.
All right, and you watch as its piercing roars and screeches slowly die down in this decrescendo as its body slowly desiccates into this dried out husk as every ounce of life and blood within it is squeezed out in this gruesome necrotic display that spreads across the ground, sizzling like acid. It slams onto the ground with a mighty roar of dust and dead grass flying all around it in a whirlwind. Kiva, you feel the roots around your legs slacken and then give way as they rot and decay into the ground in mere seconds. And as the druids and berserkers look across it in horror and rage and shock, that is where we will end for this week.
Oof.
We don't like trees here.
Woof. Amity MVP! Amity MVP!
Anti-conservationist crew.
I love that. I love that her book is super nature oriented and into preservation, and then she just goes ahead and kills a giant tree. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Fuck your conservation.
She is still the coolest of us by far.
Yeah.
Strahd's
Aww.
EPA is going to be very upset.
Oh,
with
100%.
this.
100%.
That was an endangered species, damn it.
I know. There's only one other, and it got killed by a bunch of meddling adventurers.
So where does the remains of the tree fall on like the soil pyramid of Barovia?
Oh no, my God, we're not going into
No.
We are doing this.
No.
this. Do it in
Biodiversity,
do it in chat. My God.
biodiversity.
Next time on Curse of Strahd, every single druid probably like comes up and attacks Amity. Probably, Berserker. I mean,
Oh.
Look, you want to know? You want to know
Yeah,
the,
we're
the
gonna-
soil pyramid? It's going to be your bodies when the druids are done with it next week.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, we're in a bit of a sticky wicket.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
unfortunate.
Of
It's a shame.
Sticky
Lillison just
thicket.
lost such a great puppet she could have used. It's
What
very
was that?
sad. Now that it's dead, it doesn't matter. The tree blight understands common.
I think Crown of Madness
Dang.
only works on humanoids.
Crown of Madness does, but Suggestion doesn't. Anyways.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh no.
Anyways, hopefully you all enjoyed this wonderful session today. A quick shout out to Neutral Party, the artist who did the commissioned battle map that we used today, which is not in the module, but matches as close as it can be. It is available on the subreddit on r/Curse of Strahd under the resources mega thread sticking at the top of the subreddit. If you haven't already, we encourage you to check out the revised version and the community version. They are excellent, and Neutral Party did wonderful work with it. Sorry, was it Neutral Party or was it Afternoon Maps? I'm completely forgetting.
Neutral Party.
Thank you. It was Neutral Party. Afternoon Maps was great work too. Check them out as well. Anyways, we hope you all enjoyed today. We will pick up next week. So thank you to everyone for joining us today. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will see you back in the mists next week. But until then, fear the trees that bleed and take care.